Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Galaxy's Greatest. I'm joined by Ollie. How's it going, dude?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Good, good. Me too. Yeah, unfortunately, we've had no balance update or anything. But we thought it'd be quite nice to have a an episode on sort of affiliation wish lists and go through each affiliation on characters that we'd want to see in the affiliation and slight changes we'd want with each one. So yeah, I'm gonna let Ollie take the realms in this one because he knows a lot more about Marvel than I do. But yeah, so should we just get straight into it, dude?
Yeah, let's go for it. By the way, John, I'll be testing you on all of these. So if you don't know who these are, you're going to be keeping a log.
Google's going to be my best friend.
Marvel characters, anybody other than Avengers.
Yeah, that's it.
So I think we'll go through in alphabetical order because it'll be the easiest for people to follow. So if we're starting with A-Force, in terms of characters I can think of off the top of my head, the one that springs most to mind that we haven't already got is Nico Monori, I think is how you say it. She's kind of come to prevalence quite recently in the comics, and her whole stick is that she's a mystic style character. She's got the ability to wield spells through the staff of one. So she'd be quite an interesting character, especially in A-Force, because I don't think they've got that many mystic characters. But she'd also cross over quite nicely into Convocation and maybe the Midnight Suns as well. I'm thinking that might be something they're probably looking out for, because other characters would be a lot more physical and energy heavy characters, and I think she's probably something unique that the affiliation doesn't have, whilst also not just splashing in a character.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, just thinking off the top of my head, they haven't got that many mystic attackers, I don't think. So it definitely adds something else to that affiliation that we've not seen before. So that's really good. So what sort of threat do you reckon should be if they brought her into the game?
Depends whether they go for her as a voodoo style character where she's some mixture of support and damage, or whether they make her more of a supporting mystic character like Mordo. I could see both. She's obviously she's got a lot of abilities to cast different spells, like a lot of the wizards do in Marvel. So she's got a lot of flexibility. They could do a lot of things with her. It's not like she's very rigid and she has one particular thing she does. She just casts a lot of magic, so they can be very flexible with that.
Yeah, that definitely sounds good. Um, so yeah, that sounds really good that they'd bring her into A Force. I mean, one thing I can think of straight away, which Nico could do quite well, is I think A Force are desperately after another leadership. I mean, I do like She-Hulk, and she does her job very well. But having a sixth threat as your only leader, it sort of limits a lot what they can do. So whether they bought, Nico with a card, on her card with a leadership, or whether, they bring out a leadership card where, She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Medusa, Nico, characters like that can have that as their leadership.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting. I think A Force, like you say, are kind of stuck with what they can play, because obviously they're having to bring a sixth threat as their leader. Obviously, at the time of recording, we don't know what the new She-Hulk's going to do. So we're not really taking her into account. We're not taking any of the kind of revealed characters into account in this list, but that might come with the leadership. But definitely having an extra leadership in the team would be useful. I'm just trying to think who else in A Force has kind of led the team, but I think it's only ever really been She-Hulk from memory, like in the
Jessica
comics.
Jones, or is she not really a leader?
Well, in the 616 A Force, Jessica Jones wasn't in it. I don't
Oh,
think.
okay.
I think she was in the Secret Wars version, but that was because that was every character rammed into somewhere. So I think A Force then was a lot more of the like the full female squad that you get in the list when you look at the affiliation list. That was everybody that was in the Secret Wars comic. But I think both times She-Hulk has been the leader of the team.
Yeah. Could you bring in Captain Marvel, like, and just have the leadership like the Marvels, and have that under A-Force, do you reckon?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you could do that. I suppose the other option is they do a Spider-Verse style leadership where you bring it instead of everything else, and it's just the team working together.
It was funny you say that, because, I mean, spoiler alert a bit later, but I was thinking that for... Actually, you know what? I'll wait until later because it'll be a spoiler. So I'll try to remember it. But it's for Weapon X. So if we get to Weapon X and I've not said anything, give me a little nudge.
Okay. I will. The other character that, just having a quick scroll, is Elsa Bloodstone. Is another person you could possibly add leadership to, but because she's Midnight Sun's leader, I think it would be the first time ever we'd have a character that's able to be a leader in two places.
I mean, technically Doctor Strange because of Convocation, but
yeah, that's true.
That's due to a card more than actually being on the card. Well, they could bring out a card for Elsa Bloodstone, couldn't they, and just have that as, she could have this leadership.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
it'd be interesting.
I don't think.
I think so, because I think A-Force have got a good range of characters in their affiliation. The leadership on She-Hulk is strong. They've got some interesting cards within their list. I mean, Stalwart's a great card. Special Delivery, I know, is She-Hulk locked, but that still is a good card. And then A-Force Assemble's not a bad one for bunkering up. And if you could do it with a leader that isn't a 6 threat, you have a wider team. Imagine being able to bunker up onto more characters than having to bring She-Hulk. If you could bring 2-3 threats in place, having all of them add dice on would be quite fun.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. So yeah, it'd be good if Nico came into the game, and yeah, A-Force need another leadership. So yeah, that sounds good. What is the next one, dude?
So the next one is Asgard, and thought about a lot of people for this. I think Odin's the obvious one. It could have been other kind of less known Asgardians, people like Thor's other brother, Baldur, or like some of the other Asgardians that have appeared in movies that haven't had kind of stuff. Like it could have been more Korg and Meek, like you could have had those two. I imagine they'll be done at some point, but I think Odin's probably the most prominent Asgardian that we haven't seen yet. I don't know how they do him in terms of threat level, because I mean he could be anywhere from a 5 to an 8 depending on which version they do of him. But he probably gives another leadership to Asgard, so they get up to what, 4 leaderships?
Yeah, that's a lot of leaderships for a affiliation that doesn't actually have that many affiliated.
Yeah, a bit like Wakanda then at that point, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But then the leadership is where you get the differentiation of play style. So
yeah,
adding Odin in doesn't necessarily make it too bad, especially if he's a high threat leader. Like if you make him a 7 or an 8 threat, suddenly you do get this really tall version of Asgard.
Which is very thematic, because obviously Asgard, they are like a bunch of gods. So that would be really cool of, seeing a really menacing like Asgard, like 18, 19 threat with just 3 of them or something. That'd be pretty scary.
Odin, Thor 2, and Loki.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty brutal.
Bring back Thor 2 as like when he was pre-released, like when he was released.
Oh god.
Yeah, that'd be scary, wouldn't
it? It would definitely be interesting. I don't know how well it would work and how they'd get Odin to work on the table, but it would be something fun to try.
Yeah, definitely. I like that a lot. Obviously Odin would be really, really cool to see on the table. But yeah, it'd be quite hard to know how strong to make him, because obviously he should be obviously stronger than Thor and Loki. yeah, probably a 7 threat seems quite fair for him.
Say so. It depends whether they do the kind of mounted version of him on his steed, or whether they do him on foot, and then whether he comes with grunts, because you could have him with like, the Asgardian soldiers. You could have him by himself. Like, there's a lot of options with him. And the other option for grunts is you bring his raven, or so you bring that in, or you bring him with Fenrir, or like Asgard have got so much stuff in the kind of mythos. It's how much do AMG kind of draw in when they do the character.
Yeah, I'll tell you what would be quite fun is, so you, like, for Odin you get 2 grunts like you get for Sandman, and they're both Asgardians. And whenever you target Odin, they almost get the Colossus thing where they like advance towards Odin, and if they're within 2 of him, they take the attack, almost like, you know, just protecting him.
That would be cool. There's lots of kind of scope for him.
Yeah.
It depends whether they go for him as the kind of warrior king, or the kind of a far leader, or the Odin the Conqueror version. Like, there's so many different versions of Odin that have been in the comics and the movies that they could go in any direction, which is quite nice.
Yeah. Cool. What about? Can you think of any obvious changes to Asgard? I mean, I'm trying to think myself, and I can't really think of anything too obvious to change about Asgard. I think they're in a pretty good position at the moment.
I think they're in a pretty good position. I think the only things I'd want is kind of tweaks to some of the lesser seen characters to make them feel more appreciated.
Yeah, I've got
like,
one.
Is it Enchantress, Angela, or Scourge?
It's neither of them, actually.
Okay.
They need to make Hela a 6 threat tyrant and just make her the killer that she's supposed to be, because she just doesn't see. Generally cannot remember the last time I played against Hela. She's just never on the table because she's not good enough, and she's literally, you know, she should be like killing pretty much everything on the table. So yeah,
I think
change her, I think.
the way you fix her is probably make her like Encanto. I think Encanto is the right way to do her, with the soul mechanic, where she just siphons souls. The way she generates tokens compared to the way he does, and the way she uses them when you compare to him, there is a big difference in design philosophy, and you can see where AMG have learned how to do separate economies almost.
Yeah.
So if they updated, even if they didn't make her any different on threat, they just changed how the tokens work and make it similar to Encanto, I think she'd feel a lot better. But I agree. I think she's probably one of the glaring options that doesn't get played all that much.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, like, she should be one-shotting everyone left, right, and center, because that should be her thing. Because obviously she just, you know, in the comics and everything, she's like just so strong.
Claiming souls. The other one for me is Scourge. I think Scourge is such a unique character in Asgard's design, because he's the only character that can take hits for other people. And I mean, he's got a tactics card with Enchantress to take hits. And I know he's got gainers to kind of limit his power gain, because he's got a 6 dice builder on a 3 threat. But he does feel really kind of like missing something, and I don't know what it is. But I'd love to see him get a tweak, because then it would benefit him, but it would also benefit Cabal as well.
Yeah. Would it be too strong? Obviously he's got bodyguard, but would it be too strong where he's got bodyguard and a clapback?
I think so. With a 6 dice builder, I think so. I think if you're tweaking something on Scourge, you probably either give him aggressive. Well, he's already got aggressive. You probably give him, because he's got taunt. So maybe if you made it the same version as Colossus, so that
where he can advance towards you.
Yeah, because then he's kind of like, right, come here.
Yeah.
And that makes him a little bit more interesting. maybe the other thing you do is you give him damage reduction.
Yeah.
It's the only other thing I can think of. But the problem he has is generating power to be the right hand man. So that's why I wonder if you make it like Colossus, where he gets up close, because then he doesn't have to walk in his next turn. He can kind of like close on you and keep doing it, and then generate power back with Battle Axe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could. There's a few things I'd like to see him changed, because he's a fun character. I know in the movies he was really appreciated because Carl Urban did a really good job with him.
Oh, he just does
But
any character good, doesn't he?
he does, but like so many people, like he's become a meme, hasn't he? With behold
Yeah.
my stuff, and they did the whole card for it as well, didn't they? They did the Weapons of Midgard, where you can do destroy.
Yeah.
It'd be great to see him on the board more, but I think for me that's what I'd want changed for Asgard. I think themselves are in a good space, as we saw in the last episode with Asgard winning the UK Games Expo. So
Yeah.
I can't think of too much else I'd change. It's just tweaks on some of the less seen characters.
Yeah, I agree. Like as you said, like Scourge, Enchantress, Heimdall potentially like a slight tweak. Hela I'd just want them to see completely change Hela's card. But yeah, I think all in all they're in a good spot, because them characters that we've just mentioned don't really get played in Asgard, but so there's obviously they've got very good characters in Asgard, which is obviously see a lot more play. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see them work on these characters, so then they've got a bit more sort of option.
It makes it hard. They've got a lot of these characters have got the same issue as Black Order, where they're not affiliated elsewhere. So if they're not good in their own affiliation, you're not going to splash them.
Yeah.
So they can do with a little tweak, but I don't think Asgard suffer as a whole. It's just kind of seeing the lesser seen characters, and I know not every character can be good, but it'd be nice to see some of them occasionally.
Yeah, I agree. But awesome. Right, onto the mighty. Well, I was about to say onto the mighty Avengers, but that's going a bit too far ahead, isn't it? Onto Avengers.
So Avengers, I think there's one really big missing character, which is Hank Pym. I know we've got Ant-Man with Scott Lang, but I think Hank Pym is such a historic character for the Avengers. I mean, he was the original leader before Captain America came in like the 10th issue or whatever it was. But he could be the first triple transformation character. You could have him go big and small, and he gets a different card for each. That I think would be interesting. He could possibly be another leader for Avengers. There's quite a lot of scope you can do with Hank Pym. It depends which version you pick. Like you could do him as Ant-Man, you could do him as Giant Man, you could do him as Yellow Jacket, you could do him as Wasp. I'm sure there's been another version of Hank Pym. He's had so many different alter egos. I think he'd be really. I think he's a big miss. I think he's probably as big of a miss as the Fantastic Four not being in, because of how historic he is to Marvel as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It would be really cool if they brought him in. It'd also be, as obviously you said, he was the founding sort of Avenger leader, so it'd be nice to bring another leadership that's not just a Captain America or a Hulkbuster. So that'd be really cool. Yeah, that sounds cool. What sort of changes do you reckon Avengers need, if they need any?
I think Avengers have got the problem. Avengers have got is they've got so many characters that you can't really wish for character bonuses or buffs, because they're such a unwieldy thing, and you don't want to split them in half, because then you get the weirdness of what happens if one character's on one side but they should be on the other. And I think Avengers as a whole is fine as they are in terms of character options. I think their the biggest thing is their kind of narrative tactics cards they have. I know reserve members exists, and I know a second wind exists, but realistically, you're very rarely seeing them because Avengers Assemble is the only real true card you play every game.
Yeah.
And I do wonder whether they need like a card that represents their kind of heroic nature of defending people and kind of saving the day at the last minute, or even just representing different fighting styles, like depending on the leader, depending on the situation. Like they could do so many different fun tactics cards for Avengers that isn't character specific.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we were talking about it just before, weren't we? And I thought like quite a cool one would be, Avengers pay power, and if they're not contesting or holding an objective, they get 1+ on their attack dice, or if they are contesting and or holding, they get +1 of their defense. So it almost like shows that they're sort of bunkering down, holding on to the assets that they need, or whether they're there fighting, trying to gain the assets. Would be quite cool. I think the one thing I'd probably want to see change slightly, I know we're on about they've not got too many tactics cards, but I'd like to see reserve members get changed slightly. The fact that it's normally on like a Gambit or someone like that. The fact it's just if he's within 2 of another allied character with a leadership, I think's pretty rough, because you can literally run Cap, Sam Wilson, King T'Challa, Spectrum, and Gambit or something. So Gambit could literally be stood around all 4 of them and gain it. So I think the only thing I'd want to see changed, that it would have to be active leadership, because I think it's just a bit too easy and a bit too obnoxious being anyone with a leadership.
I agree. The other option is you make it cost power, so you say it's 1 per every time you activate it.
Yeah.
Because then again, that limits how often it can be used. Because suddenly, if you're using the Gambit example, it then costs him 1 to boost the dice, 1 to then get the bonus from the Mighty Steve leadership, and then you get 1 for his boost the dice. Then it's suddenly costing 3 every time he wants to do these big spiky boosts, rather than 2. It then kind of caps it down. I know you're bringing a tactics card for the bonus, but if you're making it so easy to kind of, I know you've got to build around it, but if you're making it so easy to access this extra dice, you need some downside to it.
Yeah, I agree. Another sort of downside, but I think it'd be a bit too much of a downside, would be that you get an extra dice, but you cannot modify your own dice. So it's almost good for Gambit, because if he rolls wilds, but then he wouldn't be able to use his other superpower of turning hits into wilds, would be quite a good one. But again, that might be a bit too of a might be too much of a nerf.
It still breaks, because Gambit can still break it. It doesn't let Echo break it, but there are still characters that count certain faces or can boost faces or things like that. So
true, but it does narrow it down, because obviously if Gambit rolls, a wild hit, while on, he can obviously pay to make it 2 wilds, but if he's using reserve members, they just stay as they are. So it does sort of stop the spiking, as it stops the massive spiking. But I guess that'd almost be, they'd almost base that reserve members card just on Gambit, when there's obviously loads of other people they can use it on.
Yeah, I suppose the other option is you say if you use that, you can't add dice from any other thing except from crits, so you can't boost it again. So you can't Spectrum boost it, joint effort boost it, or anything else. That's the amount of dice you're rolling.
When Zemo uses reserve members and gets an extra 2 dice from Spectrum as well, that's just horrible.
8 dice reroll, it's kind of insane.
Yeah. But I think just slight tweak to reserve members would be nice. Again, I think just having it as the active leadership should do it, because then, say King T'Challa runs in, And well, obviously it won't be King T'Challa because it'd be a Wakanda leadership. But say if Cap runs in, even though he never does, Gambit would have to sort of run in as well to get the reserve members. He can't just stand by someone else and get it.
Yeah, agreed. I think making it so that it's harder to get off is definitely a thing. I think the thing that disappoints me is it's only really seen in Steve 3. It's not seen in any of the other leaderships.
Yeah.
But I think that's because Steve 3 can break it, and then there's so many other cards that are better a lot of the time for the other styles of leadership.
Yeah, so if we see it more and more in Steve 3, I guess when I said you can add a dice but you can't mod it, I guess that'd be more beneficial then, because then you wouldn't be able to use the Steve 3 leadership on it as well.
Yeah, it would definitely clamp it down a little bit.
Yeah, because I think it only needs clamping down a little bit. It doesn't need like complete nerfing, if that makes sense. It just needs a little nudge in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Black Order. Where do we start with Black Order? What are they? Who are they again? I've not seen them on the table for for a while now.
Yeah, Black Order are hard to kind of define who else would be part of them. So, I mean, the other two characters that everybody knows that or would think would be part of the Black Order would be Gamora and Nebula, which I know both aren't part. You can do it narratively and put them in your roster. They're not affiliated. They don't count towards anything. The only other character I can think of off the top of my head that, and it's kind of the one I'm going to have to go for this, is the Challenger, who is a very niche Marvel character. He's pretty recent. He only started, I think he was only designed in 2018, which is why he's not in the movies where the rest of the Black Order appear. And he's like one of the elders of the universe. So I don't know what threat he could probably be, because his power set hasn't really been fully kind of defined. Almost, he's kind of still being shaped. But he was involved in the Infinity Wars comic recently. I don't know whether you'd include him as a leader. I don't know. Black Order are in this weird scenario where they've kind of already got all the characters that exist for them, but they could do with maybe like a redo of different characters, like another version of Thanos maybe, or like a different version of one of the other kind of lower characters, just as a variant to give them a few different options. But I think that their whole design doesn't suit the new style of Crisis. I think they were very much designed to play down East Street, weren't they? And with that gone, they have kind of suffered a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, obviously we saw Thanos absolutely everywhere, but I do feel like they went a bit too hard on Thanos. I think they went a bit too hard on Corvus as well with Reality. The fact he's got to pay makes it really hard for him. Yeah, I think the main sort of standout I could see, which I think would be really cool for like Thanos leadership, would be so you have the gems in your roster, but they're not specifically on any character. So when it comes to squad building, you could be like, right, okay, I'm going to put Space Mind on Thanos in this game and bring Reality with Corvus. And also you could have it so it doesn't, with that leadership, it doesn't cost power to use the gem. That way, obviously, the gems still, Thanos doesn't go back to being splashed everywhere. But I feel like that'd be quite a nice like leadership, and like have Thanos Black Order as just the affiliation just full of gems, which I think is quite nice, because obviously on list building at the moment you probably put Space Mind on Thanos, you put Reality on Corvus, and that's probably as far as the the gems go as such. But obviously if like Ebony Moore's really good with the space as well, so I think it'd be quite nice to to not have it set on a certain character in that roster.
Yeah, I've thought about this a few times with different ways of doing it. You could do it like that, where you kind of say you have the flexible gems. The other option is you say that Thanos comes with set gems. Those are the gems he has. And then when you pick his leadership, he can hand gems out, a bit like how Apocalypse hands out Horseman abilities.
That's cool, yeah.
And whether you do it as, here's the gems he hands out, or whether he hands out roles. So he has like Executioner, Hunter, kind of Herald, a bit like how we saw in Infinity War, where certain characters can be different things. So you might say like Supergiant and Ebony Maw are his heralds.
Yeah.
Black Swan and Proxima are the kind of, I don't know, scout almost. And then you have, you can have Corvus, or you can have Black Dwarf as the Executioner, and then you can have, I don't know, Black Swan or Corvus as the kind of hunter, and like each one gives them a different thing. So you can have like multiple characters across they can have different ones, but it gives them a bonus. So if they've got a specific role in mind, and then it allows Thanos to generate, I don't know, power, or he can like gain another stone later on in the game, like to represent he's found one, or there's something thematic like that that's not game breaking.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I really like that. I mean, we've spoke about it quite a lot of times, haven't we, with Apocalypse? But it feels like when you give a character a Horseman token, it almost feels like they're a threat above. So in a lot of games against Apocalypse, you feel like you're 4 threat above if you're the APOC player. So like something similar to that for Black Order, that'd be really, really cool. Yeah, I would like that a lot. I have found a flaw in my thinking about Thanos though, because you could easily dual affiliate Thanos and then you'd have that awkward situation of being like, well, I'm dual affiliating Thanos, which means technically I don't have to have a gem on anyone. So do you know what I mean? So I think there'd have to be like specific rules. I like your rule about, you bring Thanos and then you like dish out the gems that way. That's quite a cool way.
Maybe he doesn't dish out the gems, but he hands out like cards that represent the gems.
Yeah.
So he can be like the bearer of this, the bearer of that, but it doesn't increase their threat, but it gives them a superpower similar to the Apocalypse leadership.
Yeah, no, I really like that.
So if you wanted to run Corvus by himself, you could run him with the reality gem. And you wanted to run him as the leader, you can run him with the reality gem, but it costs him a threat. If you're running him under Thanos, you can, in your roster, you can go, right, I'm never going to run Corvus as the leader. I'm just going to leave him bare bones. And when I run him under Thanos, Thanos can give him any of the gems that he gets off the list, similar to how APOC, so he can give him reality, he can give him time, he can give him...
Yeah.
But it's a representative one. It's like Thanos is blessing him from the Infinity Gauntlet, not that he's actually given him the gem.
No, that's really good idea, yeah.
Just something that feels a bit more like Thanos is hunting you. Thanos is after something specific, like he's almost doing the digging and trying to find the Infinity Gems to assemble the gauntlet. Just now that we've seen it with Apocalypse, I think there is room for that with Thanos. I think at the time when Thanos was designed, that kind of design space hadn't been explored at all. I think it could be something that's quite interesting going forward.
Yeah, I agree, because I think thematically, I think APOC is, they've absolutely blown out of the water for APOC. I think it's very, very good. It's very thematic, and it is a very, very cool affiliation with what they've done. So, and I feel like Black Order, they could have that sort of feel to them as well. That'd be, I really like that.
There's a lot you can do with Black Order, but we'll have to see. I'm hopeful that the character changes, the health buffs, and the potential tweaks to some characters might help them, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Shall we get into Brotherhood?
Yeah, so I know you're looking forward to this one. This is one of the characters you and I have been chatting about during the week. So the character I've gone for is Sauron, and anybody that's not familiar with him, I'm not on about the Lord of the Rings big eye in the sky. I'm on about the pterodactyl looking like mutant that has the ability to fly. He's got super strength. He's got razor claws, and he's got the ability to hypnotize people and draw energy from them. He's quite a classic villain. I can't remember when he was introduced, but he'd be interesting for Brotherhood to give them that kind of control aspect. But he could be a good Cabal piece as well. And technically, I think he was in the Weapon X at one point, not as a test subject, but as a kind of supporter of the Weapon X program. So he would be an interesting kind of addition to that affiliation as well. But you probably adding him mainly as the Brotherhood kind of crossover. What do you think, John? I know you're very keen on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive X-Men lover. Watching, the OG X-Men 92, or 97, should I say, sorry, was very, very good. And I'd say Sauron, going to the Savage Lands was probably one of my favourite a few episodes. I just think it's really, really cool, and it'd be nice to just to bring a pterodactyl into the game. It'd be pretty fun. We've been trying to sort of talk about how they'd bring the character into the game, and I think it'd be quite tricky, because obviously when Sauron's about, people like lose their superpowers, but obviously that'd feel quite hard to bring that into the MCP game, because we started off thinking anyone within 3 of him cannot use superpowers, but then that'd just be way too strong. So it'd have to be brought down a bit. And you had quite a good idea, didn't you, of bringing on a spender, getting a wild, and you get an exhausted token, which means you can't use active superpowers for the rest of the round, which is quite a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, so I thought about it. I think having spoken to you about it a little bit more, I think reactives are probably better than the actives, because then at least the characters can still do the stuff in their turn, but it just means things like counterattacks and stuff, like he's drained them so much they're kind of struggling to fight him back. I think the idea we discussed was if he drains power off you, so you make it so he has sap power on both of his attacks, and then if he leeches power off you, he can use that to drain you to the point where you can't then use your superpowers. But you could make it so that he has a tactics card once per game where he gives an area of that out. It just makes him an interesting piece. You'd given him a bow style effect where he can advance somebody short because he's got a hypnotic gaze, but you'd make it so that all of his power gain comes from his sapping of power. You just give him a gainer on his basic attack and then kind of make him very limited on that side of things. I don't know how else you go about doing it, really, because he's one of these weird superpower things where, because he can turn things off, that obviously goes for a negative style of experience playing against it, but they managed it with Loki with that kind of negative experience where it's right on the edge, but it's enough to annoy you to kind of naturally fit Loki's theme, but not too much that it makes it horrible to play against. So I'd be interested to see what AMG would do with him. I think they've got a lot of scope to kind of push him in different directions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the sculpt itself would be really cool. I'd love to see how they'd sort of sculpt him. It's just a massive pterodactyl, really. That'd be really cool.
It'd have to be on a medium base for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Medium move, medium base, stick him right in Spider Foes. There we go.
There you go, sorted.
Perfect.
So Brotherhood, what do you think they need changes wise? Or buffs, nerfs?
I think you don't see Brotherhood around at all, really. And I think, I don't know, I feel like they rely on their splashes too much. I think, if you bought a Brotherhood affiliation of just 10 Brotherhood, I think they struggle quite a lot. I'd almost like to see Mystique's leadership get changed to benefit the actual affiliated characters, if that makes sense. because obviously Magneto's leadership, you've got Rogue, you've got Juggernaut, um, Exodus, you've got characters that really benefit from his leadership. But I don't, I think Mystique's leadership, even though it's quite good, it's quite generic. So like, yeah, I'd like to see the leadership change, just to benefit all the other characters, if that makes sense. But I just don't know what what I'd make it.
I think Brotherhood's kind of struggle where they have a lot of high threat characters and they have some low threat characters, but not a lot of kind of characters that want to be run at lower threats, because Mystique's leadership kind of suits you going wider. And to run affiliated, you tend to see people run Juggernaut, but you'd love to see kind of like a subversion style of team where it's people like Toad, Toad, Mystique, and then kind of people that are just kind of in the background, and then you swap to the kind of powerhouse teams with Magneto. I don't know who else they could add for that kind of subversion style, but
yeah, because Brotherhood seems to be one of those affiliations that they've got a lot of members out there. I mean, they've got like characters like Mastermind, like Destiny. They've got quite a lot of characters that they could actually bring into the game. So maybe they just need more characters bringing out, just so they've got a bit more.
You've got characters like Vanisher, Mimic, Lorelei, like some characters they haven't done yet, like Dakan that they could bring in. I know, because then that ticks off another Weapon X one. Like there's lots of little characters you could bring in that kind of match like that. So, or I've just spotted one, Blind Spot. Is that Blind Spot the one that grabs you and you go blind?
Yeah, so they could have him coming in, almost, activating certain characters, being a bit of like an Iron Fist or something would be pretty cool.
Yeah, stuff like that. Just giving them a kind of. I think their whole style of having the two leaders straight from the off, with here's an attrition kind of aggressive style of leadership, and here's a scenario. It was such a good design.
Yeah,
but they haven't really grown with it. Have they? I don't know if they've had that many new releases. I think Shadow King was probably the last one I can think of for them.
Exodus. Did he come out with Shadow King? I can't remember when Exodus came out.
I think Exodus was just before, wasn't he? Because they had Exodus, Avalanche, and Lady Mastermind, and then you had Shadow King come in with Professor X. So they were pretty similar times, but they haven't had much.
Yeah, I've tried giving Shadow King a go. I mean, I gave him a go a few times against you when he first came out, and it'd be nice for them to tweak him, because he doesn't feel nowhere near good enough. I mean, he was pretty good with Deception, because I remember you put your Daredevil on the middle, and I was like, Deception. Then Shadow King just Mystic bolted him to death. But apart from that, he didn't really do anything. I feel like the Astral Fiend being an action is really, really rough. I feel like the problem with him is he's got a good card, but everything's just so much power. I mean, he's got a 4 dice spender, he's got 2 3 dice superpowers, and he's got a 4 3 power superpowers, then he's got a 4 power superpower. Like, it's just all a bit too much for him, I think. And being slow, he's just
He definitely is a bit undercooked for a 5 threat, but I'm hoping we see some tweaks, because he's being re-released in a box, so I'm hoping that it's not just health buffs for him and there is a little bit of a tweak.
Because I mean, most 4 threats are, like him being 6/6, that's like an average 3 threat nowadays, the way like AMG are going.
So I know he's got the healing, but he's got to live to heal, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll have to see. I'm hopeful for him.
Yeah, fingers crossed. As I said, I think just being a slow mover, and everything on his card costing too much power, I think they just need to tweak it. But yeah, we'll definitely see what they're up to. Hopefully, it's good. Um,
Fingers crossed.
yeah. Awesome. Should we get onto Cabal?
Yeah, so Cabal is a weird one where it's like, who is each big famous character's most famous villain? And I think the most famous character I can think of that hasn't had one is Mandarin,
Yeah.
for Iron Man. And he'd be quite cool for Cabal because he could be another leader, or he could just be a big powerhouse character. But you'd have him with the 10 rings, and each of the 10 rings gives him like unique powers. So you could either have him when he has mode changes,
Yeah.
or he has like bonuses, like he can pick forms, or he can pick attack types. Like there's a lot of room for him.
Yeah, I guess he could have the same thing as APOC, where you get to choose. Obviously, you know, I think it's quite rare in the game, isn't it? With where you can choose physical energy or mystic. From the top of my head, it's APOC, RM Zola, and Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Supreme Strange.
Yeah.
The only other character that can, and that's using a tactics card, is Spectrum,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because she's got the phase manipulation, I think it's called. So you've got, there are ways of doing that, but I don't know how you do it with him and kind of balance it without. You'd have to make him a higher threat, I suppose, or you make him lower dice to kind of balance out the fact he can pick types.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, Mandarin would be really cool to see. Um, I remember Mandarin from the comics. Well, from the cartoon as well, being like Iron Man's main villain was really really cool.
Yeah, he's one that I think would be interesting for Cabal because he just gives them something different, another kind of tool in the toolkit almost. I think Cabal itself probably just needs some more tactics cards because I know they've got affiliated cards, but realistically, Dark Reign's the only one you see because Cosmic Invigoration is locked to original Red Skull. Still, the
Yeah,
future is Kang, so you're only playing it if you're playing Kang. And Black Bifrost is locked to Malekith, so again, you're only playing it if you're playing with Malekith. They could almost do with another tactics card or two just to give them a little bit more flavour.
is there another tactics
Because
card that's built around Crossbones? I don't know if that's Cabal only. Is it Dig In?
it is digging, yeah, but that again, I don't think you play because Crossbones again he struggles. Maybe in the changes he gets boosted and you see that more often, but you're only bringing it if you're bringing Crossbones. You could do with
Yeah,
like another one or two generic cards. They've kind of got the Defenders problem of kind of pre Shang-Chi box where they've got a lot of character options, but the flavour is kind of coming from the leadership and that's it. They could
yeah,
really do with something else.
yeah. I definitely agree. I think as we said about Avengers, I think just give them a few more tactics cards, and I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I
awesome.
think so
Oh,
other than
sorry,
that,
carry on.
the only other one is a sin change to make her a viable threat, so you can play lower, like wider Cabal. But that's the only other thing. And I think we know that Sin's getting some form of change. We don't know whether it's a full change or whether she's just getting a health bump. But that would be the only other thing for me for Cabal.
Yeah, no, I like that. It'd be good to see Sin hit the table, definitely. I love, as I mean, everyone knows it, but I love. Oh, I was about to say I love the long movers, but I don't even know if she's a long mover. Oh, she's a medium mover. Ignore me. I've not, I've
Yeah,
not played her for so long.
it's Viper that's the long move, isn't it?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, but awesome. Right, on to Convocation, dude.
So Convocation are hard because they don't technically exist in the comics. They're just a kind of conglomeration of mystic characters that work together. So if I'm kind of digging, I'm ignoring Nico Manuri because she's I've done her as A-Force, so I'm trying not to repeat anybody on the list, and I'm ignoring Wiccan because obviously Wiccan is part of the kind of upcoming boxes, so I'd assume he'd be a part of Convocation. So the next person I can think of is Doctor Druid, who is kind of a long time Marvel character. He's not that used now, but he was once a Sorcerer Supreme candidate. He's another wizard. Like I don't know what else we can do for Convocation. It's quite hard.
Yeah, I agree. They are a very unique affiliation. I'd like to see them make changes to it, because anytime I see Convocation on the board, you get 3 wizards, then just a load of splashes. So it'd be nice to see them benefit having more wizards on the table than just bringing splashes. Again, maybe it just means bringing having more in their affiliation, but as you said, there's only a certain amount of wizards, I guess. So it would be quite tricky to do. They do have quite a lot of cool tactics cards. I think they've got like 6 or 7 like decent ones. I know when I was looking at running them quite a while back, it's hard to know which tactics cards to have in your 10, because there's so many, which is quite cool. Very similar to Shield in that aspect, where they've just got a load of good tactics cards. So yeah, I don't know what I'd actually do to change them. Maybe again just have more as in their affiliation. But yeah, not too sure.
You could add more spell books, couldn't you? You could do things like the Dark Hold and like the Book of the Shanti. Maybe even like Montesi, the Crisis book. You could almost do that as a tactics card one, or bring in the Montesi character and have that as a Convocation character. Just somebody, like people that are good with spell books and things like that, maybe.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that sounds really, really cool. Or you could even have them as the first affiliation that you can bring alter egos, so you could have Doctor Strange and Sorcerer Supreme, because they've opened the rift to heal, which would be pretty funny. But I think they'd be the only 2 that you could bring from that affiliation, because I don't think they've got any other characters from that. Yeah.
No crossovers. The other character I've just thought of that would work quite nicely for Convocation is somebody like Zatanna or Hellstorm, or Hellstrom, as depending on where you see it. Like those 2, where they're kind of wizards but they're hell adjacent. So they're technically wizards, but they're hell adjacent, but they're good most of the time. So that might be something that you kind of bring in that side
cool,
of it.
Yeah, are they like followers of Dormammu, or like I've heard of them before?
They're Satan's children.
Okay.
They don't fight for Satan. They fight for Earth and protect it against all the demons.
Oh, that's cool.
Like they're more Midnight Suns adjacent, but because they're kind of wizardish, that might be the other option.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. That does. Cool. On to my jam and butter now. I say jam and butter, bread and butter. Is Crimson. So what have you got for Crimson, mate?
So Crimson, this is hard because there's so many like big criminal syndicate characters I still think they're missing. The one I've gone for is Tombstone, because he's another kind of mob boss style character. He's not one of these kind of super powered kind of Crim characters, a bit like MODOK, who doesn't really fit the street level style Crim style. I think Tombstone would be interesting because he could be a tanky character. He fits in Kingpin, but you could also make him kind of a taunt character for Crims, which they don't have currently. It gives quite a few different options that they don't already have built in, whilst also suiting quite a few of the leaderships.
Yeah, no, I agree. And good thing about Tombstone is it goes with a lot of the other Crimson characters, where he would be Spider Foes as well. So I quite like how many synergies crossovers there are from Crimson and Spider-Foes. There's just Spider-Man's just everywhere. Everyone hates him, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, you're a good character when you've got two affiliations that hate you.
Yeah, definitely. No, that'd be really, really cool. As you said again, there'd be massive synergy there with Kingpin. Just another potato sitting on a point would be really, really cool.
But he could be one of those like big bulky characters, a bit like Rhino, but rather than it being the Rhino, I'm going to run and grab things off you. He's I'm going to stand on this objective and I'm going to punch you off it. Like he's
quite
got
like a 4-threat Ulik as such.
Yeah, almost. He's got damage reduction. He does punches and pushes, but he's not mobile. Like he stands there and just throws hits.
Yeah. Like you just want to get him on like the middle scoundrel point and just keep him there for the rest of the game.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just going to stand and plant his feet, which is very Tombstone in the kind of lore. Whenever you see him, he's always there, just trying to throw punches and shouting at Spider-Man because he's on a wall and he can't get to him.
Yeah, definitely. Changes wise, I've actually got one that I think would be quite decent.
Is it deleting Kingpin? Is it getting rid of Kingpin?
It's to do with his leadership. Actually, you'll be pleased to know. So, I think that Kingpin's leadership should change. So, all it should do is you always count as healthy. So it goes from counting as 2 to 1, but if you if you daze Kingpin, if you daze other people, they're still counting as healthy. One, they'll have a better game plan on pay to flips, and 2, I just think it'd be a bit more likable in the game because especially when you play newer players, like you're almost like apologetic getting your characters out running Kingpin. You're just like, oh, sorry, like this isn't, it's not going to go well, because I feel like you need a real game plan against Kingpin. So I feel like changing the leadership would be more beneficial for the game.
So are you saying on the front side it does nothing? And then when you flip over, you still count as healthy, like Deadpool
Yeah, so
does?
exactly like that. So every character is essentially Deadpool. Because then there's not so much that feel bad being the Kingpin player that if you go through a round like playing against Sentinels where Directive won and Cassandra Nova's card all comes out and it just dazes your whole team and you're just like, well, I've just lost. You still count as healthy on secures, so you can still get your way back into the game. But also as well, there's not that feel bad of having a load of long movers just moving people onto the infinity points or anything like that, and your opponent just can't do much about it.
Dial of it being 2 characters, you make it almost like Mystiques where you interact, but rather than you putting a token down, the character that interacts gets a token and then they count as 2. So it still forces interaction. You can't just go, I'm going to walk on here and I control it.
Yeah,
but you
definitely.
can only do it if they've done an action. I don't know, they've made an attack, or you can hand tokens out, or they have to do something within the leadership. So it's not just an auto. I count as 2. There is still a step, so it's not a passive ability. It's a kind of interactive one where your opponent can kind of mitigate it in some regard.
Yeah, or you could have, I don't know, you could technically have something where I don't know how good it'd be, but where you can double move a Kingpin character onto a point, you pay a power, and like say you move on to a point where there's only one character on that secure, you can pay a power and then now they're not contesting that secure. So you still effectively count as 1, so they can still like move someone a bit later and stand on there. Or if they've got 2 characters there, it still effectively counts as like the OG Kingpin, but you've got to pay power to do it.
Another idea I've just come up with, and I know we'll keep coming up with ideas that will go round and round, is maybe something like you count as winning the point if it's tied. So
Yeah.
if you have one character and one character, the Kingpin one wins it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they've not been kind of stumped on it.
Yeah.
That would then kind of make it so you're still having to double up on a Kingpin model. You can't just put one versus one on one, but it's less game breaking early on in the game, but it's
Yeah.
less back breaking for the Kingpin if you flip over.
Yeah. I agree.
Because if then everything's injured, you can go, I still win it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely like that. But I think that would be the thing I change. Would just be Kingpin's leadership. Still make it good, just not as sort of backbreaking as it is at the moment. But awesome. Right, on to Dark Dimension. This is a strange one because obviously it's only Dormammu who's affiliated to Dark Dimension, and he obviously makes everyone else affiliated. But what have you got, mate?
Yeah, so I wasn't originally going to do Dark Dimension Thralls and Legion of the Lost, and the only reason I've done them is because when they announced Blackheart, the Orb, and Jack-o'-lantern, they said that Blackheart would be Legion of the Lost affiliated, or kind of mentioned that he'd be that kind of way inclined. So if he is that, then I think there is room to add on other affiliated characters for those kind of leader. Like everybody can be affiliated, but leaders characters. So the one I've gone for is let's see if I'm about to pronounce it. Umar, which is Dormammu's sister. So she could be affiliated. I don't know whether you'd make her a leader or whether you just bring her in as a secondary character. She'd be another option for Dark Dimension. I don't know how they'd get that to work with the way Dormammu works with him being an 8th threat and he can pick anybody. Whether you make it so that she's a lower threat character that comes in and it's just kind of a manifestation of her with Dormammu, or whether you make her a second Dark Dimension leader, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Yeah, maybe make her like a 6 or a 7 threat and have her like exactly the same as Dormammu, where you can pick anyone to be in the roster. But yeah, you'd have to sort of think about what the leadership would be. The fact, you could have it so everyone in that affiliation just gets +1 attack on every +1 attack dice on every attack. I don't know if that'd be too good. I suppose that could be quite quite bad if everyone just be having hammers. But yeah, I don't know what you'd do to for the leadership, but I do quite like the idea of her having the same sort of effect where you can just bring a roster around her.
Yeah, maybe it really depends how they do Blackheart. I'd be interested how they do it for whether he interacts a lot with Mephisto. So maybe you make it that she works the same with Dormammu. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it'd just be nice to see more like Dark Dimension characters, because maybe then they could give you an affiliation list as well. So like
Yeah.
you could put Clear on as a Dark Dimension affiliated character, and then if they bring out Dark Dimension cards, you don't just have to run Dormammu is influencing everybody. You can have it where you kind of swap to, I'm just running pure Dark Dimension, I get this.
Yeah.
Give them a little bit more. It might bulk them out a bit more, but because the leadership is, I'm going to take what I want with Dormammu. I don't know exactly how it would work, but it'd be nice to see other Dark Dimension characters.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Defenders, no, you got nothing to say about them. Okay, right, on to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, tell you what, I'll let you pick one, John. Who would you like to see for Defenders?
Oh, I mean, obviously Jessica Jones should be really cool to see. In the Defenders, also White Tiger, would be really cool to see. Who else? Misty Knight, I believe it's called, would be cool.
Yeah.
That's about as
much
as
I want now. Look, so you've spoken to me for long enough.
Yeah, that's about as much as my limit knows. I think about Defenders which aren't in the game.
Yeah, I think Jessica Jones is the biggest one of the street level side of Defenders that hasn't turned up yet.
Yeah,
I think she would be an interesting character to put on the table because she's a bit of like a brawler character, and she would definitely be like a kind of Daredevil style designed character. If like Blue Marvel's the strange style, you'd almost have Jess on the other side. I'd I'd love to see her as a bit like Noir, where she comes in and she just pays to reduce damage, but she generates power in interesting ways, or like it interacts with the game in interesting ways with her kind of investigator. So whether she generates power from people interacting around her, or she gets some bonus against people that have interacted, or she gets rerolls on interacts, or just something to represent her kind of like private investigator style of the way she's in the comics, rather than just making her a big dice pool that I'm going to punch you kind of character, which they could quite easily do. But I think she would be more interesting if she had some kind of PI style bonus.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really cool. They could even have it. I don't know if it would work necessarily for like her, but a cool little thing you could bring in the game was, you know, if you're within 3 of her or within 2 of her, it costs 1 more power to interact, or to flip a point, or to pick up an extract.
Yeah, anything like that, or even she gets like when she's interacting back, if there's enemies contesting it, she gets rerolls or something to represent she's
Yeah,
kind of working stuff out. There's plenty of things you can do with her. Like we've kind of saw that with Noir, where they brought in the sleuth, so maybe they do a similar card for her, or
yeah,
show it in a similar way. I don't know.
yeah. Or they could have it like, so it costs an action to do, but when you're flipping, when you're paying power and flipping a pay to flip, you use an action, and it just means that if there is healthy characters on it, they don't count, so you still just need for 1 success, because then
Yeah,
that'd
or
almost
even
be showing that she's like, investigating that point, and it's obviously taking a whole action to do it, but it makes it a lot easier to flip a point.
or if you're giving up an action, you make it so it's an auto flip, so that
Yeah,
like, because an action is a big thing in the game. If you're committing an action to something like that, you make it an auto flip, but it may cost her
yeah,
a lot of power to do as well.
yeah.
Or she generates tokens in a similar way that like the Spider Sleuth card does. She's got lots of kind of unique
Yeah,
ways
yeah.
of
Because the
doing it.
worst thing would be is using a whole action, rolling 4 dice. Because I mean, she should be full fizz, but yeah, rolling 4 dice and just not getting a single success, and you'd be like, oh, I've just wasted an action.
Yeah, there you go. I
But
could have pushed somebody off a point here and
yeah,
done something else. Yeah,
talking about sort of changes, I think what I'd like to see is pentagrams change. So it's only active for 1 round. I hate the fact, where the Doctor Strange Blue Marvel team activate it like start of turn 2, and then it's just there for the whole game. It feels like there's a whole like massive circle of danger, which is very very hard to sort of deal with, because obviously Blue Marvel and Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange bumping Blue Marvel's dice up is very very hard to kill. I would like to see it only work for a round.
yeah. Either that, or it has like a maintenance fee. So a bit like Magneto's or Nick Fury's cards, where it's affiliated. They play it, it goes away, it resets. They
Yeah,
have to play it again. So it's like Strange has to pay 3 power every round, and obviously that's sapping power off him for him doing other stuff. I would like to see a change. I think pentagrams has often caused problems throughout the game with the way it's designed. I think the idea is fun. I just think the way it can be abused, and it has been abused for as long as I've been playing. And I've been told stories of it being abused in the very early days with MODOK. Like you teleport MODOK up and just blast everything. And then obviously you had the kind of I don't want to say the abuse of it, but the whole Wong style of sitting on a back point teleporting people up, double tapping, and then driving back. There is a lot of kind of weirdness to it, and it's very hard to balance, because if you're very good with it, you can make it so it's just a tool for you. And I know a lot of counterpoints are your opponent can use it too, but often the really good players can find a way to break it. So I do think limiting it, like you say, a refund, like a recharge or a kind of a upkeep kind of cost on it would definitely be a way of doing that.
Yeah, I agree. And also, yeah, your opponent can use it, but your opponent isn't hitting as hard as Blue Marvel. And, you know, I think in an attrition game, unless you're taking, you know, the high attrition pieces, you're not going to win that fight if you know you're going through the portal and trying to deal with them that way. So, yeah, your opponent can use it, but they will not use it as well as the strange defenders will.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, my wish list for defenders, and obviously it's going to be Daredevil related, as everybody knows listening to this podcast. I think, much like every other affiliation, you want it so every leader has their niche, and kind of gives you something different. And I think Strange obviously has pentagrams, and that's his whole reflection. Like, his leadership does kind of some of his mysticky stuff, and then you have pentagrams, which gives you the other side of Strange. I'd really like a leadership that benefits the street level side. I know street smarts exists, but that is, funnily enough, used more by the Strange side of the team, and Mystic Ward is kind of generically both sides. And then Cover Me, I think, again, so it kind of suits the big threats like Hulk, like Blue Marvel, like Strange, where if they're getting attacked, you've got the health to kind of counter it back. I'd quite like to see something that represents the Street Fighters, whether it's like a Nelson and Murdoch kind of card, which is similar to like a Recal, but it's Daredevil related, so it's in an area, or you have one where it affects like fighting over points. So if you're fighting on a point and your opponent controls it, you get bonus dice. But it's like threat limited, so it's all the street level characters. Like, you'd only be able to play it on stuff like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, maybe like 4 threat capped. So anything above that, it doesn't scale onto Hulk and things like that. But you make it so that you'd still get it on characters like Elsa and Blade, because you'd expect to see them in a dark alley, but you wouldn't expect to see Hulk kind of scurrying around by the bins.
Could be hungry.
Yeah, I mean, he could be, but
Yeah.
I doubt he's going to worry about some mugger, is he? Whereas
No.
you'd much more likely to see a Silver Sable or an Elektra kind of being a bit more territorial of New York.
Yeah, I mean, they could do the thing that, you know, like reserve members is like, you know, maximum 3 threat. They could do the same thing with maximum 4 threat. I know technically
Exactly.
ASM's a street level of, but he'll just
He
have
is,
to.
but boosting his dice in any way again causes problems.
Yeah, so they could have it as like 4 threat or below.
Yeah, because you've still got OG Spider-Man, you've still got like Moon Knight, you've still got a lot of street level characters. I think as soon as you start trying to make exceptions for higher threats, it's like, well, what about Ghost Rider? What about Doctor Strange? Because technically they all drive around New York.
Yeah.
I think you have to draw a line, even if the arbitrary line doesn't fully make sense.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree.
it's often agreed that street level is 4 and below, so
Yeah.
like, as a community as a whole, so I think 4 is probably the line you draw.
Yeah, no, I agree. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to add to Defenders?
No, I'll keep this section to as short as possible. I know I can go on for another 2 hours, so
That's it, yeah.
I'll try not to.
Stay tuned for a deep dive of what to expect from Defenders.
The next 30 years.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome, right. Guardians of the Galaxy. What have you got for them?
So Guardians, I think the big one from the movies that hasn't been done now is Mantis. And she would be interesting because you could have her as a healing character in Guardians, which I don't think they really have. She'd be a support piece, but you could also have her. She kind of fits that kind of like Karnak role for Guardians, where she's a kind of can fight over a point together, but she could also support the characters. She's kind of multi-rolled. She's a very classic Guardian, obviously after her kind of portrayal in the 2 James Gunn movies. I think it was between her and Cosmo, and I mean, Cosmo is another famous Guardian, but I think you could probably do Mantis and Cosmo together. They'd probably come in a box. You'd have to have 2 in there minimum. So between the 2 of them, it'd give Guardians like a bit more mystic punch, because I think that's probably the one thing they're lacking. I know you've got Moondragon now, but they haven't really got an out-and-out kind of mystic brawler or mystic kind of heavy hitter. I know CGR's got his Spender, but he's got to get to it. I know Adam's got his Spender, but he's got to get to it. Moondragon's got mystic attacks, but she's kind of like plink damage, and she's just rapid fire, and she's very rarely using a Spender because her control is better, or her distracting illusions is better. So having those 2 might be interesting for the team.
And also I think they're desperate for another free threat, because I feel like she's a good free threat, but she's an amazing 4 threat. So I mean, I feel like Guardians is the only place you take her as a free threat, but I feel like you just want to bring her as a 4 threat because she's arguably one of the best 4 threats in the game currently.
I do find it funny that the best thing on her card isn't actually on her card.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. But they could also have Mantis almost be like Honey Badger, where if, Mantis is within 2 of the enemy attacker, then they get less dice, because obviously it shows her sort of trying to manipulate them, and almost like holding their punches back.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or even when you could do a lot of things with her, like her superpowers are kind of broad strokes. It's whether they try and make her mystic, or whether they try and make it so that she's a martial artist with that kind of off-putting powers. There's plenty of options of how you could do it. I think she's probably the best person between her and Cosmo, and it was quite a hard pick. In terms of Guardian changes, have you got anything that you'd want for Guardians, John?
Again, I think it's just mainly to to have another 3 threat. So I feel like Mantis would be definitely my choice to bring into Guardians, to have that other 3 threat. I'd like to see Groot change a little bit. So then, because obviously you always see Rocket and Groot come out, whether they change Groot slightly so he could be like another 3 threat that you bring without Rocket, would be quite cool. But yeah, I think it's mainly character changes that I'd like to see more than anything else, or like as another 3 threat come in, really. What about you?
I'd like to see Gladiator affiliated.
Oh yeah, Gladiator affiliated to Guardians and X-Men, please.
Not to X-Men. No.
He's been with X-Men more than Guardians.
I've seen him on the front of a Guardians comic. He's a cosmic hero. He was part of the Dark Guardians of the Galaxy. He was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know why he's not affiliated. And he would be fun with the team. And then you could run him and Adam together and have like a great punchy list. You could bring him and with Star-Lord and have great fun with kind of building confidence up on him. Like there's lots of fun things Guardians could do with Gladiator.
Yeah, you could do lovable misfits with Gladiator. That'd be pretty fun. Yeah,
Gladiator, Adam, rolling both for it, and they get the attacks. Yeah, that'd be great fun.
But yeah, no, there's definitely changes I'd like to see in Guardians. They are in a good spot. It was quite strange because they were took everywhere, and then CGR got his change, and they just dropped off the face of the earth. But I still think they're still very good. So yeah, it was interesting. It was very similar to Inhumans as well, when they got slightly changed. Like they're still super strong, but everyone just stopped playing them. So it's quite similar
Yeah,
to that, really.
I think Guardians struggle on certain threat values, and unless they're bringing in a lot of splashes, because their threes
Yeah,
struggle because
yeah,
it's Drax and Groot kind of limit them. Because Nebula and Rocket are great, Yondu's great, Nova's great, and obviously Adam's great. So between them, you've kind of got combos, you can pair them all up. Star Lord, obviously, if you're taking his leadership is great, and I think he's actually quite good under Adam as well. But he's your only good three, I think, because you want Moondragon as the four.
yeah. That's what I
It's
think. I think they're like one free threat away from being really, really good.
Yeah. So if it was Mantis, if it was Cosmo, if it was somebody else entirely, like who's is it Kraglin? Like you could have a Kraglin in there. There's plenty of kind of side characters they could bring in.
Yeah, you've got all the pirates that the Yondu's with. You could
Yeah.
bring
So
quite a few of those in.
there's options for Guardians. But I think that's probably the one thing that you'd probably want either that uh, bring a 3 threat in and get Gladiator affiliated, and I think they're pretty solid as they are.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. On to Hellfire Club, mate.
Hellfire Club. So I think the most obvious one is Sebastian Shaw, to give you a second leadership. He's arguably the most famous kind of Hellfire Club character that isn't in the game. I was trying to think of who else isn't in the game, and there wasn't many that jumped to mind that were as big as him. So I think he's probably the one you want, and by having him as a fixed leader, it means you can run him, or you can run Emma with her kind of bonus leadership that takes up a tactics card, and you can then suddenly make a decision of, do I want to run 5 tactics cards or 4 in a leadership. I think they also really want more affiliated tactics cards now they have an affiliation list. I think when they didn't, you weren't bothered, but I think now that there is an affiliation list, they kind of want affiliated tactics cards for something.
Yeah.
I know the leadership's great, but I don't think that is the only draw, because why would you not play? Like, you look at their affiliation list and you go, well, I could take certain characters and play X-Men and get loads of great affiliated cards, or I could go play certain characters and play Brotherhood and I could get other decent tactics cards. So, well, why wouldn't I just play one of those affiliations?
No, I completely agree. Also, Celine would be pretty cool to see in there.
Yeah, that's
Being the
true.
Black Queen should be pretty cool.
The other one's Azazel. That's the only other one I could think of, which is Nightcrawler's dad.
Yeah. Yeah, because to be fair, they could bring out a lot of the Hellfire, because obviously they're all based on chess pieces, aren't they? So they could obviously bring out like the both bishops, the rooks. They could really expand on Hellfire Club, which would be pretty cool.
Definitely, there's a lot of scope for what they could do with them. I think they didn't intend for them to have an affiliation list originally when they released it. They just wanted
Yeah.
it to be a generic thing, and then with the power of the leadership, they had to kind of shut it down a little bit.
Yeah, they could even bring out a tactics card called Checkmate, where they just instantly win.
No, we're not starting that one. I think the Sentinels get one, let alone or another mutant faction having something like that.
Yeah, definitely. What do you reckon does anything need changing for them, do you reckon? Are they in a good spot?
I think it's the fact they don't have tactics cards. I think if they had
Yeah.
some affiliated tactics cards, their roster of characters isn't phenomenal, but there's some good characters in there. And if some characters in that list get tweaked for whatever reason, like we were on about Shadow King, if Shadow King gets a tweak, if I don't know, Omega Red gets a tweak, because I know they're on about changing him. If they get changes, there's some solid characters in there. I mean, Emma's not a bad character in the slightest. I mean, I know I hate facing her. So if they make a tweak to one or two other characters in there, that affiliation list isn't a bad list.
No, I agree. I think they got hurt by the crisis change slightly, because I feel like their two favourite crisis got dropped, which was Cubes and Riots. Like, I remember when Hellfire first came out, and running, playing them on cubes and riots was just insane, because obviously they'd take the cubes damage, they'd gain power, they'd heal it off a riot, and then they'd heal it off like the leadership as well, and it was just, they were just healing like so much like damage off you, like, that you were giving to them. So I feel that hurt them a bit.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's better now that they can't just splash as many good characters as they want. I know that was very oppressive. So I think they are in a better place, but now that they have this affiliation list lock, they're kind of in the same place as Cabal, where it's like, well, why would you play Cabal or Hellfire Club over another affiliation where you can use the same models because you get a bonus somewhere else?
Yeah, I completely agree. Awesome. On to Hydra. What have you got for Hydra, dude?
Hydra, I've gone for Absorbing Man. He could probably have been a Cabal character, but he's kind of the biggest character we don't currently have for Hydra that's been associated with them. He, I think, would be a really interesting character of being able to swap materials that he's touching, depending on whether he's attacked, whether he's had terrain thrown at him, whether he's holding objectives, whether he's interacting with stuff, and kind of being able to draw, like, turn into like a being of energy because he's holding a cosmic cube, or like turn into concrete because he's touched, like, been hit by terrain and he gets a bonus for that. He's kind of the ultimate pick your mode kind of character, and I think he probably also works quite well for the Strucker style of thing, where he can give out conditions because he's heavily gamma related, so he can probably give out poison on attacks and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think potentially bringing out another Skull would be pretty cool, but bringing out Green Skull, that'd be quite fun.
I can't say I've heard of Green Skull ever.
To be honest with you, mate, I was just looking at the Hydra members, and he popped up, and he looked really cool. It'd just be cool to have like another Skull that wasn't just Red Skull. It was like a different version of him.
Not just Red Skull, and when he's on a boat and he's got seasickness.
Yeah, and he vomits and gives everyone poison. That's what it is. Yeah.
The other one they could do for Hydra, and this was a bit of a stretch, is they do when Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man and he becomes Superior Ock, and he's part of the Hydra bit. That's another one they could do.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
The other one is Zemo's son. I can't remember his name. It's gone out of my head. It's like another version of Zemo. It's like Zemo's son. Can't remember exactly what his name is.
It's not Gorgon.
No. I'll see if I can find it.
Goat-faced girl. That's a hilarious name.
They've got a lot of weird characters in Hydra, but not a lot of big famous ones.
You know what they've got to bring in? They've got to bring in Honest John.
Honest John.
Yeah.
That's what you should be called now whenever you go back to Hydra.
If I go back to Hydra, I'll change my name to Honest John.
Yeah, Hydra are a bit weird. Again, they are a team that could definitely do with more tactics cards. They're definitely missing. Like, they've got some tactics cards, but a lot of them are very conditional. They could really do with a few more kind of either less power intensive or less situational cards.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously they've got Sleeper Agent, but I mean, it feels good on Hulk. I don't know whether it'll feel good on him once the changes and stuff happen. But yeah, they definitely need more tactics cards just to make them a bit more thematic and a bit more fun. I feel like World Domination is almost impossible to get off. Is it? No, it's not world domination. Which one is it? Which is like, it is. Let's get it up quickly. High Council. That's it. Yeah, High Council. It's like so hard to get off. Like I feel like they've got cool cards, but they just need to be a bit better. Because realistically, when I was running Hydra, I was taking Sleeper Agent, and that was the only Hydra affiliated card I was taking. So then you have to sort of work a whole roster around having, character, like, bringing characters that have got certain tactics cards, just so you've got tactics cards to take. So yeah, definitely bringing more tactics cards would be good.
Yeah, they're a bit similar to Avengers, aren't they? Where they've got theme, but they could do with a little bit more theme just to kind of bulk it out. Because their roster of characters is great. Like, they've got a nice variation. It's just representing it through the tactics cards. Yeah, I think that's all it is with Hydra. Just giving them a little bit more kind of personality.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, on to Inhumans, mate.
Okay, so the one I've gone for is Quake, which is the one that appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So she, again, could be a S.H.I.E.L.D. character. She's one of these characters where she kind of fits in multiple places, but I think she's probably the best Inhuman one. The other one was Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, I think it is. I don't know how you do those in a game. At least Quake, I can see a little bit more of. She's similar to Avalanche, where she's got pushes and she's got the ability to destroy terrain and things like that. And she'd be quite unique in both of the affiliations that she'd be affiliated to. She could also be another S.H.I.E.L.D. leader. Not that I think they need it, but she has led S.H.I.E.L.D. teams in the past, so that would be interesting for her.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. What do you think for Inhumans? Do you think there's anything that needs changing?
I mean, Black Bolt's leadership is still ludicrous. I feel like, because I've had games where, Karnak will do the usual, where he'll move, he'll meditate, and then just keep dishing out power to Voodoo. And then if you pick up the midline with a free threat, Voodoo just, he just double moves and then just gets it off you, and he hasn't really worked for it. So I'd quite like to see something where you've got to be activated. So say Voodoo goes, he activates, and he's got an activated token on him, then you can use the leadership. So then, it will still make his next activation really, really strong, but at least your opponent can kind of see where the power's going, and kind of like try to do something about it. Because I think just being able to give a load of power to characters that haven't activated and have a really good turn one, it feels too strong at the moment, I think.
Yeah, agreed. It's a way of breaking it, because unlike most power leaderships where you can kind of cheat one power on, the fact you can just keep cheating a power on every turn means that if you've gone 5 wide, you can cheat 5 power onto somebody, no problem. Like, especially as they've got ways of generating bonus power on characters with Lockjaw and Karnak.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the fact that they, why they bought Karnak out to have a meditate when they know how good the leadership was pretty pretty rough. But yeah, I'd love to see them like nerf it, so it can only target activated characters, because as I said, their next activation will be really good, but at least your opponent can kind of see where the power's going, so they can try to stop being caught out. Yeah, I think that's the only change they need. They definitely don't need any buffing, because they are still very, very strong. Maybe Terragenesis go, because I hate that card. Or maybe it doesn't give you the VPs. Maybe you can just use it against a character that's got an extract.
Yeah, maybe it works that instead of giving you VPs, it gives you poison.
Yeah, just something
Like, yeah,
something that stops the ludicrous, because obviously a lot of the time when you're getting two VPs from it, and you pick up the extract off it, it's a free VP swing. It can just feel really, really bad. Or you just have it so you don't score it there and then, you just score it at the end in the cleanup phase, because there's been quite a few games I've seen where it might be like 15-14 to the person against the Inhumans, and then they just Terragenesis and they're like, okay, cool, I've just won. So forcing it to go to the cleanup phase would definitely be a good thing, I think, if they kept the VPs on it.
agreed. Yeah, be definitely an interesting change. I think I'd like to see something done. We'll have to see if anything gets changed in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they've kind of hit them with the nerf back with the removal of what a great refuge, but we'll have to see. Like I said, there's so many things that could be changing on the character updates. It could be just health changes for them all, or maybe some of them don't get health changes at all because they think that that's the way to draw them in line. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But as I said, the fact that Great Refuge got banned and then everyone dropped them just felt, they're still very, very good, and it just felt a bit sort of strange. As I said, a bit like CGR, but yeah, I guess that's the world we live in. Cool. Right, next affiliation is Legion of the Lost.
So again, Legion are kind of this weird generic affiliation where you can pick anything you want. I know Blackheart's coming, I know the Orb's coming, so that they might be affiliated, they might not be. So the next best character I can think of is Lilith, which is the kind of Mephisto's on and off wife, who's the mother of demons. So she's a really big Midnight Suns villain. So she'd be interesting. I don't know how they'd represent her. I don't know how she'd kind of fit in around the Legion of the Lost, whether she's a separate leader for them, or I don't know. It depends. Like I said, it depends on how they do the Blackheart thing. But she's another character they could bring over.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they sort of do with these affiliations where you can take anyone, whether they tried to give them an actual affiliation, unless they don't think there's enough characters in the game that will be under said affiliation. But that'd be really cool to see, even if they had it where that you can still bring anyone to be affiliated with them, that they do have like one or two affiliated characters, and your affiliation benefits for having them, very similar to like APOC, where you rarely take any splash characters with APOC. So with Legion of the Lost, you'd always take Lilith to be in that affiliation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you almost you have a tactics card that can only be played by Mephisto and any of his allies,
Yeah.
not his minions.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be interesting.
No, that'd be cool. I think the leadership needs tweaking ever so slightly, I think. It just doesn't seem to do too much into the game. Maybe let me just get up the leadership, but I'm pretty sure
It's a bit like Dormammu's, isn't it? It's a power cheat leadership. So you always have to be careful with how that works.
yeah, maybe you actually pick maybe you actually pick the character as the Mephisto player that gets incinerated. Just trying to...
I think it's like the idea is he's offering out deals to people, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they could do with it.
I think you have to be careful with the affiliations like this where they're they can pick anything, you have to be careful what you tweak, because a small tweak to them affects everything, doesn't it? Because it's not just changes to the leader, it's changes to the affiliation, and any character that gets better then suddenly becomes better in that affiliation, because they can pick anybody. But
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen it before where like, a little tweak will like be game breaking, so yeah, definitely be interesting. But there's not too much to say about these the affiliations really, where they don't have that many affiliated characters. So yeah, on to Midnight Suns, mate.
Midnight Suns, they've got quite a few characters that I think they could really do with, but I've already said about Nico early on. I think she could fit in, but because she's down for A-Force, I've picked the next best option, which is Morbius. I think Morbius is one of the most kind of classic Midnight Suns characters that hasn't been done yet. I don't know how you differentiate him to Dracula and Blade, and whether you just try and go for a similar style or whether you go for something entirely different. But I think he's a kind of famous Midnight Sun that you've kind of got to include, and you could easily add him into Spider Foes as well at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win for two kind of fun affiliations in Marvel.
Yeah, definitely. I think Morbius would be a really, really cool character to bring into the game. Again, it'd be quite sort of similar to Blade as such, with like another vampire. So it'd be, like more of an aggressive Blade that can deal a bit more damage would be cool. It'd be interesting to see whether he'd be like 4 or 5 threat, because if he has a 5 threat, that'd be pretty fun. Him being Spider Foes, bringing like another 5 threat, bringing a 5 threat into the Spider Foes would be pretty good.
It'd be interesting to see him as similar to Blade, but he's got more of the control side of stuff rather than the aggressive damage dealing stuff that Blade has. So they kind of pair off each other nicely, that you have one that kills the target and one that can control another one.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, yeah, they'd probably give him Bow, wouldn't they? Just to advance someone away short.
You'd
Or,
imagine so with
which would be
his
pretty good.
hypnotic powers.
Yeah, definitely. No, that'd be cool. What do you reckon? Do you reckon anything needs changing in Midnight Suns, or do you reckon they're in a good position?
I think Elsa needs some way of differentiating herself from Blade, because her kit is very similar to Blade. Like her whole defensive deck is Blade, but not Blade at the same time. Like she's like, if you covered up her attacks and just looked at her stats and her like defensive abilities, you'd go, well, that's Blade, isn't it? And I think that's the problem, is you swap, you miss bump, and then the leadership. So like the leadership's okay, but it's not as good as bump. But then Elsa doesn't feel any different to Blade, so you're often going, well, why wouldn't I just play Blade?
Yeah, I agree. I think Blade himself. I mean, they changed him a little bit, and he feels a bit better. But there's still something missing from Blade, I think. But the leadership itself is like one of the strongest in the game. The bump is just so strong. So like running a Midnight Suns list without bump feels quite strange. As you said, Elsa's leadership is really good and really, it can be really strong. But yeah, every time you take I've had opponents before which, will try out Elsa Bloodstone, and then halfway through the game they'll be like, right, okay, I'm going to bump there, and they're like, oh no, I'm not playing Blade, am I?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because it's so ingrained. It's like if you've played Steve 1 leadership and then you jump over to Sam because you've played it a specific way. It's very hard to get yourself out of that. Oh, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think potentially cards like Siege should be changed. I think I've said it before, but I feel like, Wakanda Forever and Siege, they were fine with the old models, but as soon as like King T'Challa and I Hulk came out, I feel like they just became a bit above the curve, them tactics cards. So I feel like they should get changed a bit. Um,
Glad you brought this up because I think they should match surprise webhead. I think it should be you pay and you pick one character, and that's the only character you can target.
yeah,
Because then it limits the output. Then you can't have it where you can daze everybody without taking a single action, and then just carry on your turn and score as many points as you want. It should be okay. We're just gonna nuke this one character, and then everything else is still playing the normal round.
yeah, because then at least when you're doing that, it doesn't matter if you've got like a King T or an Iron Hulk. You're just doing it all into one character. So yeah, I think that needs to be changed like that, because I've had games when I'm running Wakanda where you just feel so bad because you've done Wakanda forever, you've literally you know killed half their team, and then you're like, right, okay, I've got an activation now, and it felt okay, obviously before King T came out, but that's just made it a bit too good. So yeah, I think just change Siege into the same surprise webhead, and it's all good.
Yeah, I think that'll definitely balance it out a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like they have had a nerf that all the extracts, you can't hold more than one extract, because iHulk was just so good on them. Um, Going into Midnight Suns on like hammers, or not so much cubes, that wasn't too bad because obviously at least they're taking damage from it. But yeah, especially hammers against iHulk, you could effectively like kill the whole Midnight Suns team, and iHulk's left with 3 hammers, and you're just like, well, I just cannot win this game because he's just like killing everyone he touches.
It's the fact that iHawk, you could put all this effort into kill him, and then he'd wake up and he'd have 10 health again. And you're like, oh Christ.
Yeah, and the
Um,
thing with Wong being able to heal him, patch him up, then Wong's gone, or anyone really, and then he's back to full health without the immortality. You're just like, oh, that's just rough.
and his spender doesn't give you power back, so you spend all this power burning it into him. He then goes, okay, I'll heal back, and then he can spend power really well with that spender. He can throw, he can jump, he can bump. Like he's got so mobile, so aggressive.
Yeah, definitely.
I know we don't see him as much anymore, but I do agree the lack of stackable extracts is definitely a bonus for the game, but I do think the Suns have probably suffered for that.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, Mighty Avengers, quite a new affiliation. What have you got here?
So the only character that's kind of missing from the team when you look at art for Mighty Avengers is White Tiger. It depends which version of White Tiger they end up doing, whether they do the Mighty Avengers version, which is the second White Tiger, or whether they go for kind of the most modern White Tiger, because it's a mantle that's kind of passed down a bit like the Black Panther. But I think it would be fun to see Ava Ayala in the game. She could be a defender, she could be an Avenger. I think she's in another team as well, but she's a character that kind of fits in different places. The only thing I don't know how they do is how they differentiate her to Black Panther, specifically the like Chosen of Bast version, because she's got very similar style of powers, and she's got martial, kind of mystic kind of bonuses from the Tiger God. So that's the only thing with her, is how you differentiate her. But if they can tie her in and make her slightly different to Tigra and Black Panther Chosen of Bast, I think she'd be an interesting character to add, especially if she's affiliated to a few different affiliations.
Yeah, definitely. Do you reckon they could bring her like almost like she's like half Moon Knight, half Bast? Or do you
Kind
reckon
of.
she's a bit too different to Moon Knight?
I think the Moon Knight thing you could kind of link where she's got bonuses against mystic attacks, like the Chosen of Khonshu style of stuff, where
Yeah,
she can't be advanced, she can't be where she can boost her dice against mystic, those kind of things. Um, I think the issue is, how do you make her different to Chosen of Bast? Because obviously her whole thing is she's someone in a cat suit with kind of like enhanced reflexes and strength, and she's got martial arts kind of mastery.
Yeah.
So unless you go for she has martial artist rather than the um, advanced reflexes that Tigra and Bast have, I don't know how you differentiate her all that much. But it might be that she's more of a long move, war crawler, kind of grab and run kind of character rather than the brawler that Bast is. Kind of make
Yeah,
her an
I could
extra
see that.
area.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
I don't know how else you kind of make it different, but the game's getting to the point now where if you've got anybody that's very similar, because you're going to start seeing crossover between characters as they explore space and kind of get to the limits of how you represent certain types of superpowers.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you change in Mighty Avengers? If there's any changes that needs to be took.
The only one for me, and this is probably a minor change because I've not really played against Mighty Avengers enough to have a full opinion on them, but the only thing is the Spectrum card that lets you pick types. That being free is absolutely insane, and the fact it's range 4 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact they got rid of it off Doctor Strange's leadership, I thought was quite telling, and then the fact they made it a tactics card. I know it only lasts a round, but if you can do it on anybody, it's not Mighty Avengers affiliated. It's not like you have to pay for it. It's a free tactics card, and it lasts the entire round, and it's a range 4 bubble, so it can cover most of the board. It's not affecting Spectrum's ability to spend power in any way, and it's helping you with your attrition game plan. It does feel a little bit difficult in that respect to understand why it's free.
Yeah, definitely, especially because range 4 is her energy boost, so she'll be in a perfect position anyway. So she could effectively, give people 2 extra dice on their attacks, and change the actual, if it's a physical, make it energy or mystic. Is pretty gnarly, definitely. I'm just glad it's a Mighty Avengers affiliated card only, because otherwise, if it was just her card, that'd be absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I get it's locked to an affiliation, but the fact it's free, I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a good ability being able to pick attack type. I mean, we've seen how good it is on Apocalypse. Like, Apocalypse can quite happily dump on. If you have a weak type, he will kill you.
Yeah, which is 90% of the game.
Yeah, and then imagine you can do that on Blue Marvel or any other affiliated character, or even splash characters. Like, you can bring King T and bring an 8 dice reroll 2 attack when he bounds, and you pick the type and you go, "What's your weakest type?" Okay, it's that, and you're dead.
Yeah, 10 dice, 2 rerolls.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Mystic too, are you? Cool.
Oh. Sorry, Wolverine, you're now dead.
Yeah, definitely. But again, I don't really see them too much. I think the last time I played them was against Francois, who was playing Mighty Avengers at my event, and bought Lockjaw with them, so it was quite scary. Blue Marvel just getting placed by Lockjaw was pretty disgusting. But the only positive about that is obviously Lockjaw had to go and then place Blue Marvel, and then you can sort of at least get one of the characters in range of Blue Marvel then out of the way. But yeah, it was still very good. And yeah, the leadership's obviously very, very strong. Just being at, Lockjaw getting his good boy bonus and being able to give that power straight away to someone else is very, very crazy.
Yeah, agreed. The way they can pass power around is really interesting because you try and not dump power into Blue Marvel normally, and he's quite hard to deal with in that regard. But yeah, I like the affiliation. I don't think there's too much to change in them. I just think they need a bigger roster. Basically,
Yeah.
They're a bit like some of the characters where they could do with a different, bit of a bigger roster just to give them a bit more to play with. But they're fine as they are, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Talking about bigger rosters, New Mutants. Who have you picked
Yeah.
for New Mutants?
The one I've gone for is armor. So she's got the ability to like cast psionic armor around her, and not only would she be great in the game, the model would look cool as hell because you just paint the model inside and then have like the clear plastic seal to go around her, like a bit like how the CGR like um, front wheel. I'm using wheel in inverted commas kind of looks where it's the clear plastic. They could quite easily do that where it's like pink kind of translucent armor so you can see in and see her, but you've still got the kind of shape. um but
Yeah,
the benefit of adding her is that she's designed to be like a body blocker for a lot of those style of characters, and which the team doesn't have at the moment. The leadership kind of wants somebody to like dive in and take a hit. You could quite easily have her as a too dangerous to ignore style character, and have the leadership kind of hopping around and taking hits for some of the smaller New Mutants. Um,
yeah, because I mean
yeah,
you've got like Shadowcat and Magic in there, which you know can be quite brittle at times. Not so much Magic with her health buff, but she can still, she still can be quite brittle.
yeah.
X-23 is pretty brittle as well.
I mean,
So
even Sunspot's pretty brittle. I know he's a four threat, but his defensive tech is pretty limited. I think he's just relying on dice. Sunspot.
yeah, no, I
Yeah, it's
agree.
3-4-3, no defensive tech, and he's what 6-6. You'd imagine he'd go up in the health changes, but he again is still a little bit soft.
Yeah, definitely. What would you add to New Mutants? Do you reckon if you had to add, apart from obviously more affiliated characters?
I can't. I think characters wise is what they need. I think
Yeah,
they've got some decent tactics cards. Practice round is interesting because they can just re-roll any dice roll because it says when a character rolls dice, so it's not even limited to interact rolls. It could be something as silly as Emma Frost rolling her telekinetic lash,
yeah,
and she doesn't get any crits. She can just go again and try and do more damage. Um, Survive the Night's a great tactics card. I've Tomorrow's Soldiers is probably it's the weakest of the three, just because I've never seen it in a roster, let alone a squad. But it's not a bad effect. Free power is free power. Like I'd take it. Um, they could probably just do with more options in the affiliation because they've only got 7, so it's not a lot.
yeah. I agree. I'd almost like them to bring out another Magic, and just make her like really souped up, like a five or six threat Magic. Would be pretty cool.
Sorcerer Supreme magic would be great.
Yeah,
Um, put her in Midnight Suns and Convocation as well. Yeah, that would be good.
I think that'd be pretty cool. The same with, I mean, there's a lot to change on X-Men, so it won't be a spoiler. But again, with Storm, it'd be pretty cool to bring them, to bring out a souped-up Storm, like a 5-threat version. That'd be really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they've got New Mutants have got the same problem that I think the Young Avengers will have, where they're kind of a subset team, and because they've never had a big roster, they're going to get capped at what the characters are in the roster, and that'll be it. So, but I think New Mutants do need a bulk out because you've got characters like Warpath, Armor, Wolfsbane. Like, if you could bring just even those 3 out, you make it a 10-character roster, and then suddenly you've got options of what you want to play. You're not then going, okay, my 2-4 options are Sunspotter and Emma, and I've got one
yeah,
5-threat option in Cabal, and everything else is 3 threats. And you're not having to then splash if you don't want to. You can play fully affiliated, but if you want to splash, then at least you've got options of which threat levels do I want to bring, what characters, etc.
yeah, definitely. Also, as well, I think the leadership. I think X-23 is one of the main characters that benefits from it. I don't think any of the other mutants really want to be that close to the to the front line, if that makes sense.
It's not just that; it's being able to pull people away, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
the ability to rearrange the board in not in your turn is such a unique ability.
yeah,
Obviously it taxes your power, but the movement is such a versatile thing. You can use it to be aggressive, you can use it to be defensive. Like if you
yeah,
play into it, it's a very good leadership.
yeah. I
So
agree. I just think
I,
on the aggressive front, I think they need to bring more characters in, like as a like a source of supreme magic, where they benefit from the aggressive side more than the
yeah,
defensive.
yeah. I'd have liked to seen Colossus affiliated, but I think if they do eventually bring Armor out, she'd be almost like the Colossus replacement.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
cool.
yeah, I don't think there's too much I'd change on New Mutants. I think they're kind of
Yeah,
fine as they are. They just need more options, basically.
definitely. Okay, on to the next one. Sentinels.
Hey, Sentinels, other than bringing out variants of Sentinels, which I don't think they'll do too many more. The named character I've gone for is Phantom X, who's quite a unique character, and he could fit into the X Force kind of affiliation as well. Um, he bring grunts. He's got kind of unique kind of powers in the Sentinel where he's a mutant, but he's an anti-mutant Sentinel. It's quite a weird kind of set of interactions, but I think he'd be quite fun to see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. As you said, there's a very it's very limited on how many Sentinels you can bring out. But I would like to see that. Um, I think one of the changes I'd like to see would be on Bastion himself. I feel like his leadership is very, very, very strong, but his actual card itself isn't the best. I feel like he struggles having a 5 dice range 4. He struggles sometimes to deal damage, to gain the power to be able to spend her, especially if he's using his power to place other characters around. I just feel like he's a bit flat, and I'd like to see it get changed slightly.
He's got the same problem Daredevil has, which is he doesn't spend power all that well until he hits a break point.
Yeah.
Like once he hits 5 power, he'll spend it immediately on his beam.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but there's only so many times you can hop people round to get efficiency out of things. Because otherwise he's reliant on a 5 die builder to generate power. So I do agree that he probably could do with a tweak, but then I think he generates power well from the fact he's got damage reduction, and it's quite hard to deal with anyway. He's quite mobile. He can always get 2 attacks off in a round because he generates 2 in the power phase. So he's not a bad character at all. I just think his whole thing is he struggles to generate power.
Yeah, that's it. And we all know how I feel about dice. To have someone who's quite dice reliant, he wants to, he wants to spike into characters, and when he's dealing, sometimes I feel like he's doing like 2 5 dice attacks, dealing no damage, and he's like, okay, cool, you'll go, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he does feel a little bit like that, but I think the whole intention of the Sentinels, the new Sentinels anyway, is to make it so that they struggle to generate power in the same way. Like that, if you make it so they have consistent dice and then have Bastion's leadership on top,
Yeah.
they would be it would be so oppressive because they'd be generating power hand over fist, and you'd be struggling to generate power from them attacking you. It would be such a disparity. So I can understand why he's designed the way he is. I just wish he kind of integrated with Root a little bit more, because the primes do a lot with Root. I'd have loved to see him have a little bit of Root interaction as well, not rather than just giving it out on his beam.
Yeah, because I think Nimrod gives out root, but
Yeah,
like you're not really bringing Nimrod over the Prime, like Mark IV Prime or Cassandra Nova, really, which is a shame. But yeah, be nice to see Nimrod get slightly changed as well. But I think all in all, they're in a really good position.
They're definitely better than they were where they were 10 months ago. Like
100%. Also, as well, I've been running them quite a lot recently, and just forcing people to play on like pay to flips or sources, while having that reduced, giving them less power on taking damage and stuff is pretty strong. So,
yeah, having played against it, it's quite an impressive thing to try and break your way out of.
Yeah, definitely. But awesome. Right, on to Servants of the Apocalypse.
So this one's quite difficult because it depends on how they pull people in. Because there's people that I would have said are servants that weren't made servants, and there's people that weren't servants but made them. If we're picking characters that are on the tactics cards and the horseman cards that aren't in the game, the one that springs to mind is Sunfire. He's like a fire-based mutant, and he appears on one of the horseman cards. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but he's in the art for it. I'll just sanity check which one it is. But I know he's kind of referenced, so that would have been, that's the one that kind of springs to mind for me anyway.
It's not Immortal Servants. It's not for Garma Wright, is it? I don't know who that is.
No, he's on the back of Famine. So you know the way on the Famine, on all the horseman cards, they've got like the characters in their horseman versions. He's the one on fire on the Famine card.
Oh, nice.
So he's one character they could bring in. There's a few other characters on those cards that they haven't got in MCP, but I think he's probably the most famous of the ones that they haven't got that have been horsemen that are on those cards.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of changing it, as I said, I really like the way they've done the leadership. I think it's the best leadership they've done because it, almost forces you not to bring any splashes, which I think is like a really, really good thing to do in MCP. But I feel like it's just a tad too good. I think the tokens should only be for rerolls. I don't think you should be allowed to use them for paying power for Horseman's abilities, because I feel like just stopping Apocalypse being able to use Famine round one is a very very good thing to stop, because he can literally get anywhere on the board round one, and 7 dice into someone's weakest defense is just really, really strong. So I think just trying to stop that is a good spot to be in.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the way they can probably do it is limit the power generation. So changing it so it generates a token in the cleanup phase rather than the power phase, so it doesn't let the round one auto thing go off. I also dislike the fact that Pestilence gives you a token round one for picking something up on the midline. Is it Pestilence or is it Famine?
It's Famine.
Famine. I hate that happens because there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like it's something you can respond to. So I'd almost like it if after the first round it generates you a token, or at the end of the round is when they get the token. So if they finish next to people and they've died, because then it's not down to that specific character, it's down to everybody as a whole in the team, because then you can start dazing characters around to try and get you a bonus token back. It would be the way I'd tweak it. I also don't like the fact they have rerolls on top of giving out bonus stuff, because everybody can use the bonuses that they get given. Do they need the dice consistency on top as well? I don't love it. I get the idea that they can spend the tokens for consistency or the bonus abilities, but I do think it's a little bit too much.
Yeah, I agree. I think War Magic we're talking about bringing out a 5 threat version of Magic. That's pretty much it. Is War Magic. I think the Horseman cards just make them too good. As I said, like earlier on, it almost feels like they add a threat value onto each character. So essentially, you're 4 threat down, like at the turn 0. But yeah, I think having the tokens as only as rerolls, it just stops some of the nonsense that they can do. Definitely round 1. I think like after round 1, I feel like they're still in a good spot where they can just do most of the things they want to do. But at least it gives you a chance round 1 to get into a good position and not get killed by Apocalypse.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's the fact that what their round 1's going to be. If Famine walks up, picks something up, Pestilent bomb comes in, refunds the tokens,
Yeah.
and then the APOC walks, jumps, smacks something on the midline, picks up their extract. It's not. I don't want to say it's not big brains. That's it's so repetitive. It's like when you hear about people playing chess and they know that the first 10 moves of the game are already pre-planned.
Yeah.
APOC feels very much like that, and you almost want it so that there is still some room for player skill expression in that, because the first round has already been solved, and there's not many affiliations that can still do that. Like Inhumans had theirs removed, plenty of other characters in other affiliations earlier on have had that removed, so it does feel a little bit bizarre that APOC can still do that.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that. Yeah, little tweaks I think will make Apocalypse still very strong, just not too much over the curve.
Yeah, anything to stop the round 1. I think after that it's fine. I think the round 1 is the thing that makes it oppressive.
Yeah, because I mean, you just whack APOC in the middle on deployment, and then say it's infinity. You've got 2 free threats that sit on your infinity points. You're just like, well, which one's going to get tased by Apocalypse, because he can just reach both of them.
And most characters have a weak defense type as well, which he will always punish.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Right, on to Shield, mate.
So Shield, I think, has got to be Maria Hill. She's probably the most famous Shield character that's not in the game. I don't think she'd be a leader, but she's just another Shield affiliated character that could work well. And if you wanted to run the kind of secret agent style of Shield, no kind of super soldiers, no superheroes, no kind of World War II veterans. If you wanted to run Nick Fury, Black Widow, Hawkeye, you could run that kind of spy side of the Shield. Which would be good fun. You'd also imagine she's got kind of like a field leader style of ability, because she's normally kind of involved in that kind of watching the battlefield, kind of leading Shield agents, directing them in and around. So it'd be quite fun to see that.
Yeah, Maria Hill would be really cool to see. I think Shield themselves are in a really good spot. Hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed, hopefully something happens to Baron Zemo. He hasn't been touched since the game started, but just to stop, the double bubble, I feel like would be a good thing to do for, because Shield, especially with Namor, allowing, to reroll skulls when within 2 of an allied character, which you're always going to do if you're like bubbling up. Fingers crossed that something happens with Zemo, so it stops the double bubble. I think that's the only thing I can think of, because I think everything else, feels quite fair and balanced. They've got plenty of tactics cards, so they don't need any more of those. But yeah, what about you? Can you think of anything?
I don't want to say hatred, but I have a strong dislike for abilities that just permanently unlock skulls. I think both this and Miles's leadership should be, whilst they're doing the criteria, the leadership unlocks skulls. So the reroll they get from the leadership is a skull rerollable one.
Yeah.
Not everything gets a reroll skull, because I think it makes it too good.
So you reckon Namor's might be on attacks and Miles be on defense?
More of the both leaderships allow a reroll defense die. You just put additionally, they can modify when re-rolling the die as part of the invader's leadership.
Oh, okay, a bit like X-Force.
Yes, yeah.
Right,
So
okay,
it's
I've got you.
just when you're doing that one.
Yeah.
Because it's, as we've seen with Double Bubble, it spirals out of control. But then we've seen how nuts it makes Zemo, because Zemo goes, okay, I've got 5 dice, I'm going to re-roll this one, and then I'm going to re-roll that one, and I'm going to re-roll that one again, and then I'm going to re-roll all of the failed ones, and it doesn't matter if I roll skulls. So it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the skull mechanic is to make it so that there is a hard stop, and there are times where you have a less good roll because you can't modify dice. The fact there are ways to break it round, and it's not a hard criteria to do it, is kind of annoying in that regard, because especially in Shield where they have so many good tactics cards. Like, I think skull unlocks should be for specific really powerful characters like Doctor Strange, where he has the Eye of Agamotto, or it should be for like a tactics card, and it should be like a one-off thing, like you don't have it all the time. Like, it shouldn't be a flat, I'm just going to reroll every dice that I've rolled, and I don't care if I roll a skull because I'll just keep going and going and going. And it's like, at that point, you're not playing dice variance game. You're just going, I know that character's dead. It's just whether the dice will land for me.
Yeah, definitely. Do you reckon they should bring in you can't reroll a reroll?
I like the fact you can reroll a reroll because it gives you things like spider sense with cover. For example, like it feels thematic. Like but you're then taking the risk of, if you keep re-rolling, you're more likely to roll a skull, so then you can't re-roll it anyway. I don't think it's an issue, the stackable re-rolls, because often there's not many ways of stacking re-rolls on top. It's just the way it's been done, it doesn't work as well. Like, it's when you have these mod skulls stack, because Double Bubble isn't a problem anywhere near as much as it is in Shield, because the skulls will limit Namor and Zemo's kind of output and defensive capabilities. If they roll skulls, they can't mod it out. It's only in Shield where it becomes a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think overall they're obviously in a very good position. Just a couple of tweaks. I've said that probably 10 times in this episode. But
Just damp them down a little bit. That's all it needs. You don't need the affiliations nicely rounded as a whole. It just needs that kind of like sharp edge coming off and just bringing them back towards the 50 to 55% end.
Yeah. Do you reckon, just quickly, they should bring Eye of the Sky to just, once it's gone, it's gone? Or do you reckon that's not too bad, that it keeps coming back once, like every round?
I don't think it's a bad thing, because it's only in Shield where you can bring it back. And it is a power tax on Fury, that if he's spending that, he's not spending it on lead from the front, he's not spending it on calling the cavalry. Like, if his grunts get dazed, like, he's having to then manage power, so it becomes like an additional resource he's got to watch. Otherwise, all he's doing is just throwing spenders into people, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and then them spenders, especially with Zemo there, are just brutal.
Yeah. So if they left it as it was, I'm not unhappy. I think it's a thematic thing for Nick Fury, so it makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Right, on to Spider Foes. Who have you got?
Okay, how long have you got? Because I could come up with a big long list for this one. But I think in kind of in honor of Brand New Day, I think it's got to be Scorpion. It was nearly Hobgoblin, but I think Scorpion's probably one of the other legacy characters that is such a big miss. And both he and Hobgoblin are on the back of Surprise Webhead, so I'm hoping that means they're considering them for the next kind of set of Spider Foes as and when they do them. Scorpion's kind of fun because you can lean into the kind of condition side with him, of having poison from his tail injection. He's quite strong, so he could probably throw terrain, so it then builds up with the kind of trap house thing, so maybe you can pick up people and throw them instead of as well as terrain. He's another wall crawler. You'd imagine he'd be on a 50 mil base with a medium move. So again, he's another back diver. I'd like to think he'd be good at fighting spiders. So maybe when he attacks somebody, they don't get mods. Like, oh, he's got one specific attack that does that. I think he'd be an interesting character for foes because he's a bit more of a brawler, and that's one of the things that foes do miss out on.
Yeah.
They haven't got somebody that will stand and fight somebody. A lot of them are either ranged characters or they'll hit hard, but they're glass cannons. Like Carnage doesn't really hit hard, and return fire. Like I know he's got a lot of health, so it's hard to take him down in one activation. But he's not a trader. He's I'm going to munch something and keep going. Prowler's kind of the same. He's got no real defensive tech. And Sandman is the opposite. He's got a lot of defensive tech, but still dies and doesn't really hit as hard.
Yeah.
So they haven't really got somebody that fits that kind of brawler style.
No, I agree. Also, I think the sculpt would be really, really cool. I think they could do a really good job with Scorpion. But yeah,
definitely. If you could pose it so that it works against like the ASM model, because I love the fact that the Goblin one does that. If you could get it so like some of his newer villains also do that, so you could set them up as like diorama poses.
Yeah, no, that'd be really, really cool. But yeah, I think Scorpion would be really, really awesome to see. I think the obvious thing that Spider foes are missing is a 2-threat. Whether they bring someone in like Chameleon as the 2-threat for Spider foes, because it's just another issue is they've just got so many good 4-threats, you don't know which ones to take. But yeah, I think a 2-threat would really, really help them out.
Yeah, either that or a 5-threat, just something that's not a 3 or a 4-threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could definitely do with it. I think they've got a good range of tactics cards now. A lot of the characters are pretty solid. There's not really much I'd want to change on the Affiliation. It's just giving them more options, basically.
Yeah, I think they're very, very balanced, aren't they? I think they're in a very good spot. I know a lot of people say they're not very good, but I definitely think they are. I think they're in a very good spot.
Yeah, I think they're fun more than anything.
Yeah,
they're fun to play, which is what you want from a game, right? So I don't think they're in a bad place. If they don't want to release a 2-threat for them, they could make Bullseye affiliated, because Bullseye's been a Spider-Man villain in the past, so they've got options.
Definitely agree. Right. We're on to the final 7, so if you're still with us, then thank you for
sticking with us. Yeah.
But on to Thralls. Who have you got for that, buddy?
So Thralls are a difficult one because this could be any old vampire. I've gone for Baron Blood. He's a relatively famous vampire, but he did become a vampire via Dracula. Like, he wasn't bit by somebody else. So that's kind of the link that you'd have that way. I don't know how he'd interact with Dracula, whether again he'd have a sub leadership or he'd act as like a minion almost. The other option is you have like Renfield for Dracula, like a kind of a servant-esque character. But I think it's the same with Dark Dimension and Legion of the Lost, where because they can take anything, it's very hard to think of something new for them that works and how it interacts with that, because they can take anything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, again, it's quite hard to sort of think about like changes with this affiliation, because you can take whoever you want. Maybe an affiliate, like just having characters that give out more characters that give out bleed potentially. Is the only thing I can really think about. But yeah, there's not too much to say about Thralls, really.
Not really. I think you just want some way of giving them like Dracula another tactics card to play, because
Yeah.
he's the only one of the three that doesn't have another tactics card. He's only got the leadership.
Yeah, it's got a tactics card.
He's
Warpath.
got, yeah, I know, but it just doesn't really count, does it? Let's be
No.
honest. You'd want something kind of thematic for Dracula,
Yeah.
but that's probably the only thing I'd say for the affiliation really that they'd want, because you can take what you want, that or more characters that interact with bleed, like you say. But
Yeah, definitely. He could have some sort of interaction where, he like tactics card where he advances someone towards them and they gain bleed, so it's almost like he's just bitten them. Because then, like, at least that would help his spend without hitting them. It would help his spender. I suppose it's for leadership. You can give bleed out straight away, can't you? As well. So I don't know. I'm just talking nonsense at the moment.
we'll have to see. I
Yeah.
do wonder if they'll ever bulk out Thralls in the same way as Dark Dimension, because it's not like Dracula has a kind of a court of following, does he? In the same way Mephisto does. But this, if we were going to propose something, I think Baron Blood would probably be the closest one.
Definitely. Okay, on to Uncanny X-Men.
So they've completed all of the classic kind of X-Men that you'd see in teams from like X-Men 92 and all of those kind of things. So I started looking at other kind of famous X-Men characters, and I think the one for me is Banshee. Because I think, if I'm right in remembering, Banshee's the one that appears in First Class. And I know we're getting Havoc, so Havoc's kind of that same era. But you could do it where Banshee's got flight without flight, so you could do like a web swing or a kind of a place effect. Can bring energy attacks with like concussive stuff. Can maybe blow up terrain by attacking it and then explodes it. Lots of different things. He's been a long kind of on and off X-Men character. So that's the one I'm probably thinking for X-Men. But not thinking it from a gameplay point of view, just thinking of famous X-Men characters that aren't in the game.
Yeah, I think Banshee's a good one. I think Morph would be pretty good as well, but it'd be quite hard to make a character card with Morph, because not only is it, he's better than Mystique, he doesn't only like morph into, cosmetically into the same person, he like gets all the attributes as well. So, if he morphs into Hulk, then he gains Hulk's strength and everything, not to the same degree, but still like stronger. So yeah, I think it'd be quite interesting to see how they would bring Morph into a card, but yeah, it'd be pretty tricky as well.
It's balancing it, isn't it? It's,
yeah, 100%. I think the main change X-Men need, and hopefully it'll be very soon, is just a load of health buffs. I think all of them being mostly 3/3/3 and 5/5 health, they just go down so easily. So I think the health buffs will help X-Men out a lot.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Although Rid will be upset with me if I don't say this. I think the update they're really calling for is Cyclops to be a viable third option leader that is different to Professor X. Because at the moment his leadership is too similar to Professor X. So if you want to play like classic X-Men, you'd play Professor X over Cyclops.
Yeah.
I'd almost make his leadership aggressive, but like almost the reverse of Daredevil. So it's like you get re-rolls equal to the number of allied characters within a certain range rather than enemy characters within a certain range, so that you can represent them all kind of fighting together.
Yeah, I quite like that. Or having sort of the same leadership of where, if you deal the damage, you can gain dish power out, but also have the same as Shadowland Daredevil with having a reroll. I was going to say, just when they're contesting or securing, but I think that's the same as Shadowlands, isn't it? So you're technically having extra than Shadowlands. But I think just giving an extra, something slightly different would be good as well.
Yeah, you almost want it to be different to what the other two are offering, because
Yeah,
Professor X's is power boosting, Storm's is scenario focused, like mobility. You'd almost want Cyclops to be the aggressive kind of I'm going on the front
which is
foot
why I was
kind
sort of thinking potentially about like having rerolls, but yeah, I'm not too sure, but definitely something a bit more aggressive would be cool on his leadership.
Yeah, because X-Men have got some great tactics cards, and they always have done. I think the biggest thing is where they're lacking is, like you said, the health and kind of flexibility in the leaderships. Because I think Storm's suffered in the last Crisis Pack because of the low health and the way the kind of Crisis Pack changed how she wanted to play.
Yeah.
So if you could have it so that you can swap to Cyclops and play aggressive format X-Men, I think that would be an interesting kind of combo.
I agree, yeah, definitely.
Because it suddenly makes characters like Nightcrawler and Wolverine and all of these kind of like brawlers that X-Men have a little bit, if they have some dice consistency in Affiliation, they suddenly feel like they have a place, because you're not running them under Storm. I know Professor X can break them, but they're still a little bit dice reliant.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Maybe even, I was going to say, maybe even have them so if they're within 2 of an allied character, they get like almost the opposite of Namors, where they get like a reroll on attack if they're within 2 of an allied character.
Yeah, I suppose what, so you get a reroll on an attack and then mod skulls if you've got an ally within 2.
Potentially, or just leave the skull bit off and then they just get a reroll.
You'd want there to be a passive and then a bonus, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think keep it so you gain power if you're within 5. You can give a power out, and you get a reroll if you're within 2 of an allied character.
Just to make it more likely to deal damage.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, kind of gets that team camaraderie.
Yeah, because then, as I said, it's like you're doing everything together. Like Cyclops should be teaching them as the leader.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Awesome.
I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, on to Wakanda. We're almost there. We're on the W's, guys. Wakanda.
Home stretch now. I think the obvious one that everybody's always brought up after Chosen of Bass came out is T'Chaka.
Yeah.
Just have somebody with a different name in Wakanda.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't say anything more than that. It'd just be another Black Panther, but you'd have a kind of an older version of him. Maybe brings another leadership. I don't know what more else you can say, really.
No, I agree. I think when Bast came out, I think he should have just been T'Chaka. That would have been a good, that would have been the a good choice for them to do. I absolutely love Wakanda. I used to play them quite a lot, and I feel like they just need more affiliated characters. So yeah, having T'Chaka come out would be really good. But yeah, there's not too much else to say about them. Again, I think Wakanda Forever should all target the same character. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Wakanda, isn't it, mate?
The only one is Killmonger Usurper having a tweak.
Yeah, true, yeah, because he's not played anywhere really.
Yeah, he definitely needs a tweak. If they made it so that Usurp worked for both versions of Killmonger, I think that would be fun, but maybe you'd see him a little bit more. Otherwise, I don't know what you do to make him better.
Yeah, I've not looked at the card for a while now. I think I tried him when he very first came out, and didn't really get too far with him. Yeah, covert armament. There's no point it having, if the target character is within 2, it may not modify because you've got Echo and Prowler with the same attack, but obviously the enemy can't modify no matter what. So that'd be an
Yeah.
easy fix. Take that line off.
Yeah, I find that weird. I also dislike. He's got the same problem as Drax, which is his spender adds dice equal to the current damage, so you're reliant on living on 1 or 2 health.
Yeah.
And if you flip over, the spender becomes effectively useless.
Yeah.
I'd love it if when he flips over, his spender goes up to like 8 dice, and then adds dice equal to the damage divided by 2. So for every 2, he gets an extra 1. So if he's got 4 damage on him, he gets 2 extra, so he goes up to a 10 dice spender. But at least he gets something for flipping over because you've actually wound him up.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's one of the things, because Frankenstein's got the same. It works if you don't flip, but as soon as you flip, that bonus just kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's too much to change with Wakanda. I think they're kind of in a good place. They just need more options.
Yeah, I agree. They're in a very good place. King definitely needs nerfing slightly. He's just too good. But not nerfing too much, where because he's essentially he's the one character that makes Wakanda very strong. So if they nerf him too much, I feel like Wakanda just won't get played anywhere. So I think there's a fine balance of like nerfing him but not too much, where they've got no damage output at all, really.
Agreed. I think a Black Panther might see a little bit more play if he did get nerfed, but
yeah, definitely.
We'd have to see how it all shakes out.
OG Panther's still really good. I do like him. Cool. On to Weapon X, mate.
So Weapon X, I think Lady Deathstrike is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, she's cool.
That they haven't done. She'd be very cool. Obviously, another healing factor, adamantium claw attacker. But maybe she can be a stealth one because she's kind of like a little bit more assassin-like. But again, it's kind of Weapon X. Have they got claws? Do they stab people? Do they? It's kind of a whole stick, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I think the affiliation itself needs a tweak on the leadership. The leadership not letting you generate tokens whilst the leader's dazed is weird. I wish it was more like the Apocalypse one, where you get the card as a separate thing. You can keep putting it on and off and taking the tokens. I think that would be the best way of doing it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, at the start of it feels like it feels like a while ago, but at the start of the video, I said obviously about Spider-Verse card. Feels like Weapon X should be the same, where there's not essentially a leader, you just play it. So then obviously you can, like, even though X-23's dazed, you can just keep putting tokens on it, and I think that's the best way of doing it, because essentially all you've got to do is just daze Weapon X, daze X-23, who's very easy to daze, and then they've just got no leadership for the rest of the round, which just feels really strong, like really rough.
Yeah, I agree, actually, because then you could run interesting teams of like Apex, Deadpool, Domino, Maverick, and not have to worry about bringing either Logan or X-23.
Yeah,
you could actually run some like unique teams then.
Definitely, yeah. I think you could, make some really cool teams under Weapon X if it was just a card where you played it. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be fun. Because like Dossier is a fun card. Call the Pack's not a bad tactics card either, because they've all got healing factor in some way. So there's definitely some things you can do with them. But yeah, like Weapon Stash for Maverick's a great card as well. So I think the leadership's the thing that's holding them back.
Yeah, I agree. Which one's is it? Yeah, it's Weapon X, isn't it? Yeah, where they just remove the power, remove the damage.
Yeah,
Yeah, they spend 2 power. Yeah, that's a really good card, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, it is very good. I do like Weapon X. I wish they saw more play because they're such iconic characters. Because I know they're in other X affiliations, but it would be nice to see like the actual Weapon X style of things, like you saw it seen in like X-Men Origins, Wolverine, or like other kind of media comics and things.
Yeah, definitely. And also, Lady Deathstrike is on the back of Culver Pack.
Yeah, she's the only one that's missing now, so
Yeah,
it would feel great to have her on there. Because after they released Maverick, I was thinking, right, okay, they might do her as well.
yeah. Awesome. Okay, on to Web Warriors. Where do we start with nerfing?
I knew
Now
you
we'll
were going to say that.
start. Where do we start with? What character would you add, mate?
So I think if they've tried to go down the web kind of Spider Verse route of the totems. So they've brought in Silk. You've obviously got Pete as the kind of core of that. I think they need to bring in the other as well, which is Kane. And he would be interesting because again, I think he'd be a 5-threat web. He'd be a lot more aggressive of the web style. Um, he's got some more unique powers compared to the rest of them. He is a Peter Parker clone, but his power set is very different. Rather than it being, hey, it's a spider, they have spider sense, I'm going to pull you off a point, I'm going to do this web swing here, I'm going to punch that, oh, there's my turn done. Giving something different, because that's the nice thing about 2099 is he's a spider, but his power set kind of differs to the standard mold. And I think Kane would probably do the same with that. So otherwise, you're just doing like Spider-Man India or I was trying to think of another one. So like Spider-Punk, they are just Peter Parker like suits, but with either different people in them or different kind of designs of the suit, but they still have the same power set. Whereas Kane does fit differently. The only other one is Penny Parker and is it Spider, the kind of robot she sits in.
Yeah,
That's the other one you could do that would be unique because obviously she's not got the suit on. It's like the combination of her and the robotic suit that she's got.
no, definitely. They could make a really cool sculpt of her as well. That'd be really cool. Would you like to see Jonah Jameson as a 2-threat? Just shouts at people.
Not for webs. Not for webs. I think he'd have to be Spider Foes. Let's be honest, wouldn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He's a menace. But yeah, as of my not my rant, but obviously about like Wakanda Forever and Siege being too good, I definitely think All Webbed Up is definitely too good now. It's always been a very, very good card, but bringing in Silk and Noir and USM characters like that, it's just become way too powerful. I mean, the fact that Silk's got massive synergy with characters having slow, she can just do so much in her turn on an all webbed up turn. Also, as well, like Noir, just if he's got the power, just doing a beam, doing a 7 dice beam, and then whoever's like left on 1 or 2 that you want to kill, just being like, right, okay, I'm just going to do a 9 dice builder now is just ridiculous. And obviously, don't get me started on USM. He's just he's just amazing. So I think I think All Webbed Up turn is just way above the curve now with the new characters added.
Yeah, I'd say if they were going to tweak All Webbed Up, because they've done tactics cards tweaks in the past, I would like them to see it that it either gives 1 bonus dice or it doesn't. It gives out slow or the bonus 2 dice. So it does. It's not an area. You play it, and then
Yeah.
anytime somebody gets slow, you get the bonus dice. But you have to be able to give the slow out. So it kind of incentivizes rather than just going, bang. There's an area of slow, and because it's so flexible, the card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being able to go, I'm going to drop slow, and then I'm just going to run away, and you can't chase me, or I'm down, I need to steal points back. I'm going to slow everybody. I'm going to punch and kill something, and then punch and kill something else.
Yeah.
It's such a flexible output card, but I can't think of many cards that are that flexible in that regard. Like I know we've mentioned about Siege and Spirit of Wakanda, and they are similar, but at least they're a little bit more dice reliant. Whereas all webbed up, you can just slow everybody and just run away, and there's nothing they can do to catch you because they're going to have to either shake it or have to have characters that can hop, like a web swing or a kind of grappling hook or anything else like that to try and chase after you.
Yeah. Who knew the way to like get away? Get over all webbed up is having web swings.
Who'd have thought it?
But yeah, like I think personally, I think it should just give, spend free power and everyone within 3 gains slow, and I think that's just enough. Because as you said, like it's still very thematic, and you could literally just slow, like in a detrimental round, you can slow one side of the board, go to the other side, and there's nothing they can do to catch you, so it's still like a win-win. But yeah, being able to slow everyone and have 2 extra dice is just, it's crippling. Also as well, like when you're trying to target them back and you hit, if you try to hit USM and he's ending, he ends up getting a 7 dice counter strike, is just, it's just very, very strong.
I think it's a nice unique card, but it probably does need a bit of a cooldown.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I think that's the only thing I'd change is all webbed up. I mean, every character in Web Warriors is very, very good, very strong. I hope that not many of them, if any, do get health buffs, because they'll feel ludicrous if like Spec or Miles or Noir or Black Cat or like them characters get them, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is just rough. So hopefully they don't get many health buffs, and hopefully it's just it makes them go from an S tier to like a high A tier, because everyone else is sort of catching up with them. But I don't know what way obviously AMG are going to go. I'm just speculating, but yeah, it will be very interesting to see what happens anyway.
Yeah, I'm still of the opinion that I don't like the Miles leadership for the same reason I don't like the name or unlock skulls.
Yeah.
I think it should be harder to access unlock skulls. It should be few and far between. So I'm not a big fan of the fact that they get super rewarded for playing the game more than most other teams do.
Yeah.
Because they're already pretty hard to take down. Making it so they can mod skulls makes them even more difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
So I would prefer it that they can't mod skulls on everything. It's just mod skulls when you use the Miles leadership. But
I agree. Yeah, because obviously so many of them have got spider senses. It just
well, think of it on anybody, like you're getting 2 mod skulls, then you're getting the leadership. So you're getting 3 defensive rerolls unless it's a mystic attack into stuff people like Spec and Miles and those kind of characters.
Yeah.
But then it gets more absurd on ASM, because ASM can reroll any, including skulls. So he becomes an absolute tank to deal with.
Or Noir, where Noir rerolls 2, rerolls another one, and he's like, "Oh, you've done 1 damage. I'll just pay a power and not take anything."
Oh yeah, take nothing. Good. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Also, as well, I think Gwen needs changing. I think her pool being any size is silly. I think it should happen once per turn as well, because the fact that she can go move to the middle of the board, if she's got like 8 power, essentially move 4 people off points and then move back, just it's very absurd.
Yeah. It also needs changing the wording so you can only select a character once rather than they can only be pulled by it once.
Oh, I've
Because
done that
then,
before. I'm like, okay, I'll end on that, and they're like, okay, I'll just do it again. You're like, what?
yeah. My trick is I bring street smarts and go, I'm going to pull you. Okay, I'll take a damage. I'm going to pull you again. Okay, I'll take another damage. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
pull you. I'll take another one. So I remember doing it against, I think it was Johnny, and he tried to pull Echo, and I went, I'll take 3 damage. You're not pulling me. You can spend your entire you can spend your 6 power. I'm staying where I am.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it definitely, she needs to change. But yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Talking
You got
about a
another
buff
thing?
for webs. We're talking about a buff for webs. Silver Sable needs fixing.
Okay.
We'll finish on a positive note for webs. We need Silver Sable needs a buff.
I agree with you. When you said that webs need a buff, I was just like, who is this man? But I agree. Silver Sable needs changing.
She on paper she works, but in principle she doesn't because she's so immobile. She wants to stand and shoot.
Yeah, I'm really
And she
surprised you didn't say someone else needs buffing in Web Warriors, actually.
what OG Spider Man?
Daredevil.
No, he's fine. He's fine. I don't think Daredevil's bad. The problem
No.
is in webs he's outcompeted by every other kind of 4 threat really because
Oh, yeah.
they're doing the webs game plan more. I do think he's more of a he's designed to be a defender.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you can play him in webs. You can have a lot of fun with him in webs, but I don't think he's designed for the full get webs game plan.
No, definitely. But yeah, Silver Sable, change her. That'll feel good. Okay, on to Winterguard.
Winterguard, there's quite a few options. I think the one that makes the most amount of sense for what the team needs is probably Red Widow. They don't really have that many mobile characters. I know they've got Black Widow, but Black Widow is only a 2 threat. So if you're relying on her to run around and grab and flip points and kind of be in your opponent's face, she's going to get stamped on eventually. So Red Widow would be fun from that point of view. She could also bring grunts with like kind of trainees of the Red Room training kind of center. You could also make her a leader, so you give yourself another leader option because sometimes Dynamo just doesn't suit a map choice, and if you're playing Winterguard and you want to play them all the time, Dynamo does then feel like a bit of a tax on wider maps. That's it really. I think Winterguard just need more characters. The fact they've only got 7 characters, they do need a bit of an expansion of their characters, especially as they've got so many the kind of unique characters they could bring. Like obviously you've got their Thor version. Can't remember his name is off the top of my head. It's like the Slavic god of thunder. You've also got the kind of their version of Vision. Let's have a look. So it's Vostok, who's their version of Vision, so he's an android. You've got where is he? Perrin, who's their version of Thor, he's the god of thunder. You've got obviously Red Widow, who I'd like to bring in. She again is kind of a martial artist, but she's come out of the Red Room. She'd be interesting. And another one is Shemibog, who's like the Slavic god of chaos and night and darkness, which would be something
That'd be
different.
cool, yeah, definitely.
Obviously, it's just something unique. Like you want to make Winterguard not just the Russian Avengers. You want to have they've got some kind of unique styles in there. So
yeah, I agree. It'd be cool if they brought out Yelena Belova, obviously off the films. But again, I think she'd just be too similar to Black Widow.
Yeah, they've kind of represented that with Widow, though, haven't they? Because you could
Yeah,
almost say that that is her. You can paint her white and say it's White Widow.
yeah,
Um, it's not like they've only got. Um,
one widow.
yeah, I I do think they probably could do with a few more characters. And
Yeah,
the White Widow is obviously a good option for that, but they've got plenty of other versions of things they could do as well.
yeah.
Um,
I think they need more mobile characters. I mean, you look at their list. You got Dynamo, who's a slow mover. You got Black Rose, who's a long mover. You got Darkstar, medium. You got Omega Red, slow. Red Guardian, medium. Ursa Major, slow. Winter Soldier, medium. So like, I think just having a couple more mobile characters would definitely help them out.
yeah, they just need some more options. They are lacking a little bit, and the fact they've not had any new models come out since the initial release in the early wave, they are kind
Yeah,
of suffering from that. I know they had Winter Soldier, Operative, and Black Widow, Two
Omega
Threat,
Red as
and
well.
an Omega Red added on, but it's
Yeah,
not like they've had new models kind of implemented in and with kind of new design styles. It's still older models.
yeah. No, I agree. They definitely need help. But yeah, I think a bit more mobility. I think the leadership's still really good with Crimson Dynamo, and Crimson Dynamo is still a very good character. I feel like he was like the king of E's. So when like E shapes went, I feel like he lost his purpose a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he's better in the new Crisis set because they are slightly more tighter together. There are more maps like that, but just making it so that you don't have to bring him every game because although the leadership's good, there are maps where he just don't really get the kind of benefit out of him because he's either having to double walk to the midline and then stay on a side point because medium base short move isn't going to get him somewhere. It does kind of limit some of the stuff he can do.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. Okay, last but not least is X Force. What
Uh,
have you got for X Force?
I think X Force has got to be Forge.
Yeah,
He's already featured on the back of the Sentinels under your skin tactics card, and I think he'd complete the trio of Cable, Bishop, and Forge. I think that's kind of the classic X Force combo I've seen in lots of different media growing up. Um, he'd also be quite interesting on how he interacts with people. Obviously, being able to maybe boost attack dice or give people upgrades and things like that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think he's such a classic character that he is a bit of a miss for X Force. So I'd love to see him added in.
Yeah, I agree. I think Forge would be awesome to see added in, and as you said, like just giving them, either extra rerolls or extra dice would be really cool. They could even do it thematic, where on his card it only works on X Force characters, so it's like slightly different to like the Spectrum or the Baron Mordo or people like that. Would be quite good to see. Um, as I said, I think it's quite good to try to make like affiliations, quite thematic and you know, not rely on having splashes. So I think that'd be quite cool to see.
Yeah, I think X Force definitely are such a cool affiliation that I'd love to see them more, but because they've got such a limited playstyle, they are a little bit stuck in what they try and do. Um, I would like to see them more, but because they just kill things, they don't have a swap to something else. And I suppose that's kind of the point. You play them with an X-Men swap, but it's not like um, they have another game plan. And with Cable being a 5 threat leader, they could really do with a way of doing that, like swapping into something else.
Yeah, maybe Forge could be another X Force leader, which brings something slightly different.
Yeah, Cable Cable being a 5 threat is definitely a limitation for them. Forge becoming a leader would be good. The other options I've seen, just having a scroll through. I mean, you've got Cannonball, who you could bring in, who has been a leader of the X-Force in the past. Danny Moonstar says she's been a leader, and she's getting released at some point at the end of summer. So maybe she comes with an X-Force leadership. I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah.
She's coming in the X Factor, so I doubt they'd put 3 leaderships in one box, because they've said that Havoc and Multiple Man are both leaders for X Factor, but you never know, they might put a leadership on Danny Moonstar.
Yeah, I agree. What if they brought in the very first one threat in Peter from a film?
Vanisher.
No, you know Peter, who joined X-Force.
Yeah.
That'd be quite funny.
It would be funny. I don't know what he'd do. What would be a 2 threat?
Well, they could bring in like the very first one threat and just have him. Where I don't know, he doesn't do any attacks. He just sits on a point or something. I don't know.
I don't think they'll ever do a
a
one threat, just because of how busted it'll be.
Yeah, but that would be pretty funny. Good old Peter.
Would be.
Awesome. Well, that's all of the affiliations. It only took us 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's only a quick episode.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Well done, everybody, for getting through it.
I do want to say though, like, if there's any extra characters that you would love to see in the game in each affiliation, then definitely join our Discord and chat to either me or Ollie or the other people in the Discord, and yeah, we could definitely see more characters on the affiliation wish list.
Yeah, we'd love to hear all your thoughts, whether I've got it wrong, whether there's an obvious character that I've missed. Come and join in and come and let us know. Definitely.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. So if you could make your perfect box from any character that hasn't been released in Marvel yet, what box do you want AMG to reveal tomorrow? What is the box of characters? It can be 2 to 4.
So I think it would have to be Spider Foes. I think just seeing Scorpion, Hobgoblin, Chameleon and Tombstone in one box would be really cool. I do want to give a little shout out to a character that I'd love to see in the game. Would be Kazar with his saber-toothed tiger. That'd be really, really cool for X-Men. Especially like if they could bring out Sauron and Kazar in one box. That'd be a really cool box.
Yeah, that'd be a cool rivals panel, that one.
Yeah, because I don't think they've. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I don't think they've done a box like that for a while, where it brings out 2 characters that are in opposite affiliations. I'm just trying to think of the last one. Was the last one Shadow King and Professor X?
Yeah, you might be right.
Because they used to do it quite often, but they haven't done that for a while, I don't think.
That is a really good question. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Because they did that for all the mutants back in the day, didn't they?
Yeah, they used to put them against each other. Yeah, I think so, because I think everything else has been kind of combos of people together. Oh no, I tell a lie. Prowler and 2099 and
okay, that was relatively recent. Okay,
but I suppose that's Miles and his uncle, so you can kind of get away with that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, his uncle just hates him. But no, that'd be really cool bringing them out. Question is, would Kazar, would he be on the same base with his saber-toothed tiger, or do you reckon have it as almost like a little like a grunt of some sort? Or
I think you've got to do them together, Bast, haven't you? You've got to do it on a 50mm base and put them together.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's definitely something different, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What about you? What box would you like to see?
Mine would, surprise, surprise, have to be a Defenders
Are you
box.
sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I really want, I really want Misty Knight and Colleen Wing in the game, and I think if you're doing a box with those two in, you've got to put Jessica Jones in there as well to kind of have the kind of missing street level characters. And then if you were filling it out to a 4, you'd probably say either White Tiger or Hellcat.
Yeah. That's a really cool box.
There's a lot of flexibility in that box as well, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. Do you reckon if they bought Jessica Jones out, they'd do like they'd bring like a husband and wife thing out, like like Corvus and Proxima or Sin and Crossbones? Do you reckon they'd bring that out on their cards?
I don't think they would, because I don't know how that would work as well with Luke and Jess, because I think the whole point of Luke is there to take hits. I don't think it goes with Luke's kind of design philosophy.
I guess you could put Luke in a position, like move him up, and then move Jessica Jones into that position, hit someone, knowing that they've got a counter strike, and Luke's like, "I'll take it."
Maybe if you did it as a combo card, a bit like how
Yeah.
you have Miles and Pete's for Spider-Man. That's probably the closest thing I can think of. You probably wouldn't be on the character card of Jess. It would be a tactics card.
Yeah. No, that'd be really, really cool.
Mm.
Awesome. Was there any final word you want to say before we close this 3+ hour podcast over?
Yeah, thank you for getting through it. We hope you enjoyed our waffling, and hopefully the next time we all speak to you, it will be the updates, and we can be excited that MCP's had its next round of updates.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully the next time you get to hear our voices, we'll be going through all the like the balance pack, and that, to be fair, if it's as big as they say it is, it'll be about the same length as this episode. So hope you like the long episodes, and join the Discord. It'll be in the description below, and catch you in the next one.
Catch you in the next one.